I stared at the empty envelope where my passport should have been, my hands trembling as Dad's words echoed through the kitchen. Looking for something, he asked, dangling my passport between his fingers. Won't be needing this for Hawaii. My stomach dropped. But I booked my ticket months ago, I whispered. His laugh was cold cruel. You actually thought you were coming. This is a family trip, Megan. Real family. Mom stood behind him, silent. My sister Amy smirked from the doorway. Some daughters just never learn their place. The silence that followed felt like a physical weight pressing against my chest. I reached for my passport, but Dad pulled it back, sliding it into his shirt pocket with a patronizing pat. The morning sunlight streaming through the kitchen window seemed to mock the darkness spreading through my veins. I don't understand, I managed, though my voice came out smaller than intended. At Thanksgiving, you said the whole family was going to Hawaii for spring break. You said to start saving up. Amy strutted into the kitchen, her perfectly manicured nails clicking against her phone screen. God, Megan, you really are as dense as you look. When Dad says family, he obviously doesn't mean you. My mind raced back to that Thanksgiving dinner 8 months ago. Dad had been carving the turkey when he made the announcement, his face glowing with unprecedented warmth. Kids, your mother and I have decided it's time for a real family vacation. Hawaii, all of us together. He'd even looked directly at me when he said it. I remembered the hope that had bloomed in my chest, foolish and desperate as it was. Show her Amy, Dad said, settling into his chair at the breakfast table like a king on his throne. Show her what she's been too stupid to notice. Amy's grin widened as she thrust her phone in my face. There it was, a WhatsApp group chat titled Hawaii Gang 2024. The preview showed dozens of messages I'd never seen. My thumb hovered over the screen and Amy didn't pull away. She wanted me to scroll. She wanted me to see. 8 months of planning laid out in merciless detail. Restaurant reservations discussed and debated. Excursion bookings celebrated with emoji-filled responses. Hotel room arrangements that carefully allocated space for Dad, Mom, Amy, Brad, and even Tyler. Every single message a dagger confirming what I'd always suspected but never wanted to believe. The numbers at the top showed 5 participants, 5 plane tickets, 5 lives that mattered. And then there was me. I saved for 8 months. I said the words tumbling out as my vision blurred. I worked double shifts every weekend at the hospital. I picked up holiday coverage when everyone else was with their families. I ate ramen for dinner more nights than I can count. I turned down concerts dinners, even a weekend trip with friends because I was saving for this. Mom finally looked up from where she'd been meticulously arranging fruit in a bowl, her movements mechanical and practiced. Perhaps you should have asked before assuming, she said, her tone as bland as unseasoned oatmeal. Asked. I laughed, but it came out cracked and bitter. Asked if I was invited to a family vacation that Dad announced to everyone at dinner. Was I supposed to request permission to be included in my own family? Dad's expression hardened. Your own family? You've always had an inflated sense of your importance, Megan. This trip is a celebration. Amy's promotion, Brad's new partnership at the firm, Tyler's finally coming back into the fold. What exactly would we be celebrating about you? Another year of mediocrity, another year of you leeching off our good name while contributing nothing. The words hit like physical blows. I'd graduated nursing school with honors. I'd been promoted twice in 3 years. I'd saved lives, comforted grieving families, held the hands of scared children. But none of that had ever mattered to them. None of it ever would. Besides, Amy added, scrolling through her phone with practiced disinterest, we needed someone to house sit. Can't leave the place empty for 10 days. You should be grateful we're trusting you with that responsibility. That's when I saw them. The boarding passes spread across the kitchen counter like a poker hand Dad was proud of. First class, every single one. The departure date was in 3 days. 3 days they'd known I'd discover this. 3 days they'd waited to twist the knife. I picked up one of the passes with shaking fingers. Tyler's name stared back at me. My brother, who hadn't spoken to any of us in 3 years, who'd changed his phone number and blocked us all on social media after some mysterious falling out with Dad. Even he had been invited back into the fold, everyone except me. "Tyler's coming," I asked, though I wasn't sure why I bothered. "We worked things out," Dad said smoothly. "He understands now what family really means. Some children grow up and realize their mistakes. Others—" He gestured vaguely at me as if I were an unpleasant smell he couldn't quite locate. Brad chose that moment to lumber into the kitchen, his golf shirt stretched tight across his expanding belly. "Morning, everyone. Megan, you still here? Thought you'd be at work by now. Don't those sick kids need you?" He grabbed an apple from Mom's perfectly arranged bowl, destroying her pattern without acknowledgement. "It's Saturday," I said quietly. Right. Well, hey, thanks for agreeing to watch the house. Amy was worried about leaving her jewelry here, but I told her you're trustworthy enough. You won't go snooping through our room, will you?" He winked like we were sharing a joke, but his eyes held warning. I looked around the kitchen at these people who shared my blood, but had never shared their love. Dad with his silver hair and pressed khakis every inch, the successful businessman who'd never forgiven me for being born when his career was taking off. Mom with her perfect homemaker facade, who'd looked at baby me and decided she'd already raised enough children. Amy, the golden child, 15 years older and lifetimes more loved, who'd made tormenting me her favorite hobby. Brad, who'd joined our family 5 years ago and immediately understood the hierarchy. "You let me save for 8 months," I repeated, needing them to acknowledge the cruelty. "You watched me sacrifice and plan and hope. You all knew, every single one of you knew." "It's a lesson," Dad said, standing up with the satisfied air of a professor who just delivered a lecture. "In life, Megan, assumptions are dangerous. You assumed you were invited. You assumed you were wanted. You assumed wrong. Consider this a valuable education in reality. The money you saved. Well, I'm sure you can find something else to spend it on. Maybe therapy. God knows you need it." Amy burst out laughing, the sound sharp and crystalline in the morning air. "Oh my God, Dad, savage. But seriously, Megan, did you really think we'd want you there? You in paradise with us? You'd just mope around bringing everyone down with your victim complex. This is supposed to be a fun trip." I stood there, my body trembling with 8 months of wasted hope and 27 years of accumulated rejection. The ramen dinners, the double shifts, the missed opportunities, all for a trip I was never meant to take. All for a family that had never meant to include me. "Now," Dad said, checking his watch with theatrical precision, "don't you have somewhere to be? We have packing to finish and you're creating an unpleasant atmosphere." I stumbled out of the kitchen like a wounded animal seeking shelter. My feet carried me up the stairs to my childhood bedroom through muscle memory alone, because my mind was somewhere else entirely processing the cruelty I had just witnessed. The room hadn't changed much since high school, mainly because no one cared enough to update it. The same faded lavender walls, the same squeaky bed frame, the same desk where I'd done homework while listening to my family laugh together downstairs, always wondering why their joy never seemed to include me. I collapsed onto the bed, and that's when I noticed the photo album stacked on my desk. Mom must have been cleaning out closets again, her favorite activity when she wanted to avoid actual human connection. I reached for the top album, desperate for distraction from the pain clawing at my chest. The first page showed a family beach vacation from when I was 5. There was Dad throwing Amy in the waves while she shrieked with delight. Mom building sandcastles with Tyler, and there in the corner of the photo, a small figure sitting alone by the tide pools. But something was wrong. The little girl's face was scratched out with a deliberate pen stroke so violent they'd torn through the photo paper. I flipped the page. Christmas morning, same year. Amy opening presents while Tyler helped distribute gifts. Mom and Dad on the couch, coffee mugs in hand, watching their children with warm smiles. And in the background, barely visible, another scratched out face. Page after page, photo after photo, someone had methodically destroyed every image of my face, while leaving the rest of the pictures intact. The album fell from my numb fingers as memories crashed over me like a tide. Being born when Amy was 15 and already perfect when my parents thought they were done with babies. Mom's confession, years later, wine drunk at Amy's engagement party. I had such terrible postpartum depression after you. It never really went away. Dad's favorite story to tell at dinner parties, always after his third scotch. I was up for regional manager when Megan surprised us. Had to turn it down. Can't travel constantly with a baby at home. Set my career back 5 years. He'd always laugh like it was funny, like sacrificing his ambitions for an unwanted child was the height of comedy. My phone buzzed. Aunt Patricia, Dad's sister who lived in Portland and only visited for major holidays. Her text made my blood run cold. Sweetie, I'm so sorry about Hawaii. Heard them discussing it at Christmas. Felt you should know what they said. I called her immediately, my hands shaking as I pressed the phone to my ear. Patricia answered on the second ring, her voice heavy with sympathy and something else. Guilt, maybe. Megan, honey, I've been debating whether to tell you this for months. Just say it, I whispered. Whatever it is, I need to know. She sighed deeply. At Christmas dinner after you'd gone to work your shift at the hospital, your dad and Amy were in the study. I was looking for the bathroom and overheard them. Your dad said, and I quote, "We're finally doing the family trip we couldn't afford because of Megan." 27 years later, but better late than never. The room spun. I gripped the edge of the desk to steady myself. What else? Amy said you'd probably try to insert yourself into the trip. Your dad laughed and said he was counting on it, said watching you waste your money trying to belong would be worth almost as much as the vacation itself. Bile rose in my throat. 8 months. They'd planned this humiliation for 8 months. Every time Dad had asked how my savings were going, every time Mom had casually mentioned Hawaii's beautiful beaches, every time Amy had shown me her new swimsuits, they'd been building up to this moment. There's more, Patricia continued, her voice barely audible. Your mom was there too. She didn't say much, but Amy asked her if she felt guilty. Your mom said, "Why should I feel guilty? We gave her food and shelter for 18 years. That's more than she deserved." I ended the call without saying goodbye, my chest too tight to form words. The scratched-out photos stared up at me from the floor, and suddenly I understood. This wasn't neglect. This wasn't even favoritism. This was active, deliberate erasure. They hadn't just excluded me from the trip. They'd been excluding me from the family since birth. My phone buzzed again. This time it was a notification from Amy's Instagram. Against my better judgment, I opened it. Her latest post showed her holding up the boarding passes with a caption that sent ice through my veins. Can't wait for our real family vacation. 5 tickets for 5 people who matter. No charity cases allowed. #blessed. #family first. #quality over quantity. The comments were already pouring in. Her friends congratulating her on the trip. But one comment stopped my scrolling. From someone named Derek Matthews. 5, I thought you had a sister. Amy's response was swift and brutal. I have a half-sister. Big difference. Some people are family by blood, others are just genetic accidents. I threw my phone across the room, watching it bounce off the wall with a satisfying crack. 27 years of this. 27 years of being the unwanted surprise, the career destroyer, the charity case they couldn't quite get rid of. And I'd spent 8 months saving to voluntarily subject myself to 10 more days of it. I pulled out my laptop and logged into my bank account. $4,357. Every penny saved through sacrifice and self-denial. I'd been so proud watching that number grow, imagining myself on the beach with my family, finally belonging, finally being enough. A knock on my door interrupted my spiraling thoughts. I expected Amy coming to gloat more, but it was Brad. He entered without waiting for permission, his bulk filling the doorframe. Hey, just wanted to make sure you understood about the house-sitting thing. Amy's got some expensive jewelry and her dad has his golf club collection. We'll need you to stay here every night. No guests, obviously. Can't have strangers in the family home. I have my own apartment, I said flatly. He shrugged. Yeah, but family helps family, right? Oh, and the plants need very specific care. Amy wrote out instructions, 3 pages front and back. You know how she is about her orchids. He paused at the door, then turned back with a smirk. Between you and me, I think it's good you're not coming. These family dynamics are complicated enough without, extra tension. Extra tension. That's what I was. Not a daughter, not a sister, just extra tension to be managed and minimized. After he left, I sat in the suffocating silence of my childhood prison, surrounded by defaced memories and fresh wounds. The scratched-out photos seemed to watch me, each violent mark a testament to how much they wished I'd never existed. My phone buzzed with another notification, probably Amy posting more about her perfect family vacation, but I couldn't bear to look. I understood now why they'd waited until 3 days before the trip to reveal the truth. It was calculated for maximum damage. Too late for me to make other plans, too close for the wound to heal before watching them leave for paradise. They wanted me broken and house-sitting watering Amy's orchids while they celebrated my absence under Hawaiian sunsets. The cruelest part, some desperate piece of me had still hoped I was wrong. Even after finding the boarding passes, even after their brutal words, some pathetic part of me had thought maybe it was a terrible joke. Maybe they'd surprise me with a ticket at the airport. Maybe finally I'd be enough. But the scratched-out photos told the truth they'd been trying to communicate for 27 years. I wasn't family. I was an inconvenience they were legally obligated to tolerate until I turned 18 and socially obligated to acknowledge after. Nothing more. I picked up one of the ruined photos, studying the violent scratches where my face should have been. Whoever had done this, mom or dad or Amy, had put real effort into erasing me. The pen had torn through multiple layers as if my mere image was too offensive to exist in their family narrative. Tomorrow, they'd continue packing for their real family vacation. In 3 days, they'd leave for the airport, probably making sure I watched them go. And I'd be expected to smile to house sit, to pretend this was normal, to accept my place as the genetic accident who derailed their perfect lives. I traced a finger over one of the scratched-out faces, wondering what that little girl had done to deserve such hatred. Been born, apparently. Existed when she wasn't wanted. Dared to hope she might someday belong. Monday morning arrived with the kind of cruel brightness that makes misery feel worse by contrast. I'd spent Sunday in a fog avoiding my family, while they bustled around preparing for their vacation. Now I sat in my car outside Riverside Children's Hospital, trying to summon the strength to walk inside and pretend everything was normal. My shift started in 10 minutes, but my body felt like lead. I finally dragged myself through the employee entrance, waving at Sandra, the security guard who always had a kind word. "Morning, Megan. You look tired, honey. Everything okay?" Before I could answer, my supervisor, Dr. Catherine Chen, appeared in the hallway. Her usually warm expression was oddly formal. "Megan, I need to see you in my office. Now." My stomach dropped. In 3 years working pediatric intensive care, I'd never been called to her office with that tone. I followed her down the sterile corridor, my mind racing through recent shifts. Had I made a medication error? Missed something crucial, but no. I was meticulous about patient care. It was the one area of my life where I knew I excelled. Dr. Chen closed the door and gestured to a chair. She didn't sit, instead standing behind her desk like a barrier between us. "I received a concerning phone call on Friday afternoon. Your mother called to inform us that you've been experiencing a mental health crisis." The words hit like ice water. I haven't spoken to my mother about anything. What did she say?" "She said you've been having delusions about a family vacation that doesn't exist, that you've been saving money obsessively and creating elaborate fantasies about trips you were never invited on. She expressed concern that your mental state might affect your ability to care for vulnerable patients." My hands gripped the chair arms so tightly my knuckles went white. "Dr. Chen, that's not true. None of that is true. My family is going to Hawaii on Wednesday. I can show you the messages where my dad talked about it. I saved money because he told me to." They just revealed I wasn't actually invited, but the trip is real. Dr. Chen's expression softened slightly. Megan, I've worked with you for 3 years. You're one of our best nurses, but I have to take parental concerns seriously, especially when they involve mental health. Your mother was very convincing. She said you've been working too many doubles, that the stress is getting to you. She's lying, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. They're trying to punish me. I can prove the trip exists. My sister has been posting about it on Instagram. She also said you might say that, Dr. Chen continued, looking increasingly uncomfortable, that you'd have elaborate explanations. She requested we reduce your hours for your own well-being. I had to cancel your approved vacation time for this week. The room tilted. My vacation time, the time I'd requested months ago for the Hawaii trip, gone. You canceled my PTO? Your mother said it would be dangerous to enable your delusions by letting you have time off when the supposed trip was happening. She was very persuasive about acting in your best interests. My best interests? I laughed, sharp and bitter. Did she mention that she hasn't called me in 6 months? Did she mention that I'm 27 years old and have been living independently since I was 18? Did she mention anything about why a concerned mother would call my workplace instead of talking to me directly? Dr. Chen shifted uncomfortably. I admit, it seemed unusual, but she knew details about your schedule. Your coworkers even mentioned specific patients you've grown attached to. She sounded genuinely worried. Of course, she knew details. I'd made the mistake of sharing work stories during the rare family dinners I attended, desperate for any common ground. They'd filed away every piece of information ammunition for future use. I need those vacation days, I said, fighting to keep my voice steady. Even if I'm not going to Hawaii, I requested that time off months ago. I made plans. I'm sorry, but it's already been reassigned. Marcus is covering your shifts. We can't disrupt the schedule again. She finally sat down, her expression sympathetic but firm. Megan, I'm not putting you on administrative leave, but I am requiring you to attend at least one session with our employee assistance counselor. It's just a precaution. You're requiring me to see a therapist because my mother, who barely acknowledges my existence, called with lies about my mental health. I'm requiring it because a family member expressed serious concerns and I have a responsibility to ensure all our nurses are fit for duty. One session, Megan. Clear things up with Dr. Harrison, get a clean bill of health, and we can put this behind us. I left her office in a daze. The humiliation was complete. Not only had they excluded me from the family vacation, they'd reached into my professional life to ensure I couldn't even use the time off I'd earned. My coworkers would whisper. Word would spread that Megan had mental health issues, that her family had to intervene. I made it to the break room before the tears came. Thankfully, it was empty, the morning shift already dispersed to their units. I collapsed into a chair and pulled out my phone, scrolling to Friday's call log. There it was, 3:47 p.m., right when I would have been on shift, unable to defend myself. A text from my coworker Lisa popped up. Girl, what's this about you having a breakdown? Sandra said Dr. Chen called you in. The gossip had already started. By lunch, everyone would know that Megan's family had called concerned about her mental state. My professional reputation, the one thing I'd built independent of them, now tainted by their poison. I was composing a response when the break room door opened. Tom from security entered, looking embarrassed. Hey, Megan, weird request, but Dr. Chen asked me to pull Friday's lobby footage. Something about verifying a phone call. My heart leaped. Yes. Can you check around 3:45 p.m., see who used the lobby phone? He nodded, pulling out his tablet. Already did, that's what's weird. It wasn't your mom. It was a younger woman, blonde, really well dressed. Looked like she knew exactly where the cameras were kept, her face turned away mostly. But I got this angle from the side camera. He showed me the screen. Even in profile, Amy was unmistakable. Her designer handbag, her perfect posture, her satisfied smirk as she hung up the phone. My sister had driven to my workplace, used the lobby phone to impersonate our mother, and destroyed my vacation time with surgical precision. That's my sister, I said flatly. She called pretending to be our mother. Tom's eyes widened. That's messed up. Want me to show this to Dr. Chen? Before I could answer, my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. I opened it and nearly dropped the phone. It was from Brad, Amy's husband, but clearly sent to me by mistake. Did you handle her work situation? Your dad wants to make sure she can't follow us to Hawaii. He's paranoid. She'll just show up at the airport with her own ticket. I screenshotted it immediately, then showed Tom. I need a copy of that security footage. This is deliberate sabotage. Tom looked between the footage and the text, his expression darkening. This is seriously twisted. Your own family did this. They're going to Hawaii without me, I explained, the words tumbling out. They let me stay for 8 months knowing I wasn't invited. When that wasn't cruel enough, they decided to take away my vacation days so I can't even go somewhere else. They want me here house-sitting while they celebrate my absence. That's beyond messed up, Tom said, already pulling up the footage on his tablet to transfer. This is like harassment-level stuff. You should file a report. I laughed bitterly. With who, hey police? My family is mean to me, they'd laugh me out of the station. My phone rang, Dr. Chen's extension. With shaking hands, I answered. Megan, can you come back to my office? Tom just sent me something I need to discuss with you. Back in her office, Dr. Chen's expression had completely changed. The tablet showing Amy on the security footage sat on her desk. I owe you an apology. I don't even have words. Your own sister impersonated your mother to sabotage your career. My vacation time, I said quietly. Can you restore it? She shook her head regretfully. The schedule's been posted. The union would riot if I changed it now. But Megan, this is harassment. You could file a formal complaint. We could ban her from the premises. What's the point? I asked, exhaustion seeping into every word. They got what they wanted. I'll be here working while they're in Hawaii. Banning Amy won't change that. The counseling requirement is lifted, obviously, and I'll send a memo to staff clarifying that there are no concerns about your mental health. But Megan, she paused, choosing her words carefully. Have you considered that this might be escalating? First the vacation, now attacking your job. What's next? I didn't have an answer. In 27 years of casual cruelty, they'd never reached into my professional life before. This felt different, coordinated. Amy using the lobby phone to avoid being traced, Brad checking to ensure the plan worked, Dad orchestrating from behind the scenes. There's something else, Dr. Chen said. Your mother, or rather the person claiming to be your mother, knew details she shouldn't have. Patient names, your specific schedule, even mentioned the overtime you've been working. Has anyone had access to your work information? My blood ran cold. My laptop, I'd left it at their house last week when I'd stopped by to drop off a birthday card for Mom. Amy had been using it when I came back from the bathroom claiming her phone was dead and she needed to check email. I'd thought nothing of it, too pathetic for any scrap of sisterly normalcy to question her. I think my sister got into my laptop, I admitted. She must have gone through my work emails. Dr. Chen's expression darkened further. That's a HIPAA violation, Megan. If she accessed patient information, she was just looking for ammunition, I said quickly. She wouldn't care about patient data, just anything she could use against me. Regardless, we need to do a security audit. Change all your passwords. And Megan, she leaned forward, her voice gentle but firm. You need to protect yourself. This isn't normal family dysfunction. This is targeted harassment. I left her office for the second time that morning, head spinning with the implications. They weren't just excluding me anymore. They were actively working to destroy the life I'd built away from them. The vacation was just the beginning. My phone buzzed. Amy probably gloating about Brad's misdirected text, but it wasn't Amy, it was Tyler. Megan, we need to talk, away from them. Can you meet me tonight? There's something you need to know about Dad, something that explains everything, including why I really left. I stared at the message from my brother who hadn't spoken to me in 3 years. The brother who was somehow welcomed back for the Hawaii trip while I remained the perpetual outsider. Whatever he had to say, it couldn't make this worse. Where I typed back. The diner on Maple, 8 p.m. Come alone. And Megan, start documenting everything they do. You're going to need evidence for what's coming. The rest of my shift passed in a blur of forced smiles and routine patient care. Every time I passed a coworker, I wondered what they'd heard about my supposed mental health crisis. Even the kids picked up on my distraction. Little Sarah, my favorite patient recovering from heart surgery, asked why I looked sad. I told her I was just tired, but 7-year-olds see more than we give them credit for. "Is it your mean family again?" she asked, clutching her stuffed elephant. I'd made the mistake of mentioning them once when she asked why I understood feeling left out. Kids in hospitals often feel isolated from their healthy siblings, and sometimes sharing helps, but Sarah remembered everything. "How did you know?" I asked softly, adjusting her IV line. "You get the same look my mom does when grandma calls," she said matter-of-factly, "like you're trying not to cry, but your face hurts from pretending to smile." Out of the mouths of babes. I finally escaped at 7:30, racing home to change before meeting Tyler. I needed to check my bank account first to transfer my Hawaii savings somewhere safe. Call it paranoia, but after the workplace sabotage, I wouldn't put anything past them. I pulled up my banking app in my apartment parking lot, the screen loading slowly in the dim light. When it finally displayed, I stared at the numbers in confusion. That couldn't be right. I blinked refresh the app, certain it was a glitch. Balance $347.23. My hands shook as I clicked on the transaction history. There they were, 5 transfers over the past 3 days, each one just under the daily limit to avoid triggering fraud alerts. All authorized transfers to an account I recognized with sickening clarity. My parents' joint account. The one they'd added me to when I was 17, supposedly to teach me about financial responsibility. $4,000 gone. I called the bank with trembling fingers, even though I knew what they'd say. The representative confirmed my worst fears in a professionally sympathetic voice. These transfers were authorized using valid credentials from an account holder. Since the receiving account has joint ownership with you, our fraud protection didn't flag them. "But I didn't make these transfers," I pleaded. "Someone stole my money." "I understand your frustration, ma'am, but technically if your parents are joint holders on both accounts, they have legal access. It's not considered theft in the eyes of the law. You would need to resolve this as a family matter." A family matter? I laughed hysterically in my car until it turned to sobs. They'd stolen my Hawaii fund, every penny saved through 8 months of sacrifice, and the law considered it a family matter. My phone rang. "Dad," I answered through my tears, my voice raw. "You stole my money." "Stole?" His voice was calm, amused even. "That's a very ugly accusation, Megan. Your mother and I simply transferred funds between family accounts. You should be more careful about maintaining outdated financial connections." "That was my money, my savings. You knew exactly what it was for." "Did I recall some misunderstanding about a vacation you were never invited on. Besides, consider it back rent. Did you think 18 years of food and shelter came free? $4,000 barely covers a few months of what you cost us." "Back rent. I was your child. I didn't ask to be born." "No," he agreed coldly. "You certainly didn't. But here we are dealing with the consequences. Your mother needed new luggage for the trip. Quality costs money. Would you really want your family traveling with worn suitcases?" Through my rage, details clicked into place. The transfers started Friday, right after they revealed I wasn't invited. They'd planned this too, waiting until I knew about the exclusion to twist the knife deeper. Every dollar I'd saved to join them, now literally funding their vacation without me. "I'm going to the police," I said, though we both knew it was an empty threat. "With what crime exactly? I'm still listed on your account from when you were a minor. You're 27 years old, Megan. Your failure to manage your financial affairs isn't criminal, just pathetic. Though I suppose we shouldn't expect better from someone who actually thought she was invited on a family vacation." He hung up before I could respond. I sat in my car, staring at the numbers on my screen. $347.23. That wouldn't even cover a security deposit on a new apartment if I decided to run. They'd trapped me as effectively as if they'd locked me in a cage. I checked the transaction details again, noticing something odd. The transfers weren't random amounts. $1.247, $967, $1.186, $650, each one specific deliberate. Then I recognized them. These were the exact amounts of my paychecks from the extra shifts I'd worked. They'd calculated precisely how much extra I'd earned saving for Hawaii and taken exactly that amount. The base savings I'd had before November remained that pathetic 300 that represented my only financial cushion. The cruelty was breathtaking in its precision. They hadn't just stolen money. They'd stolen 8 months of overtime, 8 months of missed dinners with friends, 8 months of declining invitations because I was saving for a chance to belong. Every sacrifice monetized and transferred to buy Mom's designer luggage. A text from Amy appeared. Dad says you called about some confusion with the bank. You really should be more responsible with your passwords. BTW, Mom loves her new Louis Vuitton set. It'll look amazing in all our Hawaii photos. Attached was a picture of Mom surrounded by matching luggage that cost more than I made in a month. She was smiling wider than I'd seen in years, hands caressing the leather like a lover. My money, my sacrifices, their luxury. I forwarded everything to Tyler without comment, then drove to the diner in a haze. The Maple Street Diner was a relic from the 50s, all red vinyl and chrome, the kind of place that served breakfast 24 hours a day and didn't ask questions about tear-stained faces. Tyler was already there, hunched in a back booth wearing a baseball cap and sunglasses despite the evening hour. He looked older, thinner, his former golden boy glow replaced by something harder. We had the same sandy hair, the same green eyes, but Tyler had always worn the family features better, like he belonged in them. "You look like hell," he said as I slid into the booth. "They took my money," I said without preamble, $4,000, everything I saved for Hawaii. He nodded, grimly unsurprised. "Check your credit report lately." The diner's fluorescent lights suddenly felt too bright. "What?" "Just do it. Now, while I'm here." With shaking fingers, I pulled up a credit monitoring site on my phone. I'd never checked it before, never had reason to. The login process required creating a new account, answering security questions that felt surreal in their normalcy. Mother's maiden name, first car, high school mascot, as if any of these things mattered when your family was dismantling your life. The report loaded. I scrolled past my legitimate student loans, the credit card I'd responsibly maintained since college. Then I saw them. 7 credit cards I'd never opened. 2 personal loans, a fucking timeshare in Orlando. "No," I whispered. "This can't be real." "Total damage," Tyler asked, sipping coffee like we were discussing the weather. I calculated quickly, my nurse's mind good with numbers even in crisis. $43,000. $43,000 in debt I didn't create. "Rookie numbers," Tyler said bitterly. "I was up to 60 before I caught on. Did you know Dad's been using our social security numbers since we were kids? Little purchases here and there, always paid on time, building our credit. Very responsible, until he needs a big score." "The Hawaii trip," I breathed. "He's funding it with your credit, your savings, probably Amy's airline miles from that card in your name. The whole vacation is courtesy of Megan, whether you're there or not." The waitress approached and Tyler ordered for both of us. Coffee and pie, like we were having a normal sibling catch-up instead of discussing our father's federal crimes. I couldn't speak until she left. "This is identity theft. It's fraud. He could go to prison." Tyler laughed sharp and humorless. "Could and will are different things. Know what he told me when I confronted him 3 years ago. Family doesn't prosecute family, and who's going to believe the ungrateful son who abandoned his parents?" He was right. I talked to lawyers. Cases like this, family identity theft, prosecutors won't touch them unless there's violence involved. Juries sympathize with parents. Kids are supposed to help their families, right? "So you just left." "I ran," he corrected. "Changed my number, moved twice, started monitoring my credit obsessively. Built my business using only cash transactions for the first year because I couldn't trust that he wasn't watching my accounts. You know what the sick part is? He's still using my information. I can see the inquiries, but now I have fraud alerts, locks monitoring. He can look but not touch." "Why are you going to Hawaii then if you know what he is?" Tyler's expression darkened. Because I've been planning something for 3 years. And because, unlike you, sweet little Megan, who still hopes daddy will love her someday, I know exactly what he is. I'm not going for reconciliation. I'm going for revenge. Revenge. He stole my first business idea. Did he ever tell you that the app that made him enough to buy the house upgrade? That was mine. My code, my design, my pitch deck. He filed the patents while I was in college using my social security number for the LLC. By the time I graduated, he'd sold it and pocketed $300,000. My work, his profit. I felt the world tilting again. The house renovation when I was in high school, he said he got a bonus at work. Your college fund probably, or what would have been if you'd ever had one. Check your credit report details. Look at the addresses. I looked closer at the fraudulent accounts. Half showed addresses I didn't recognize. Business locations, P.O. boxes. But others showed variations of our family home address. He'd been using me as a financial ghost for years, a phantom earning credit and debt, while I remained ignorant. He's escalating, Tyler continued. The Hawaii trip isn't just a vacation. He's meeting investors there. Pitching another stolen idea. This one's bigger medical software based on some efficiency protocols you apparently developed at the hospital. My patient tracking system, I gasped. That's proprietary to the hospital. How does he even... Amy fed him information. Your laptop, your emails, your everything. He's been building a pitch deck for months, claiming it as a family business innovation. You're listed as a consultant who gave up rights in exchange for... He laughed bitterly. In exchange for a family vacation to Hawaii. The pie arrived looking like sawdust on fancy plates. Neither of us touched it. So what do? I asked. Tyler smiled for the first time, and it was sharp as a blade. We destroy him. But first, you need to understand the game. Dad doesn't just steal money. He steals lives. My credit, your career, Mom's inheritance from Grandma that mysteriously vanished. Amy's the only one he doesn't touch because she's too useful as an accomplice. She feeds him information and victims in exchange for being the golden child. Mom knows. Mom knows and doesn't care. You were her postpartum depression scapegoat, and I was the son who looked too much like her father, who criticized her parenting. As long as Dad keeps her in wine and yoga classes, she'll let him burn the world. This is insane. Our entire family is criminals, Tyler finished. Except you. Sweet, naive Megan who keeps hoping love will fix everything. Tell me, how's that working out? I thought about my empty bank account, my $43,000 in fraudulent debt, my scratched-out face in every family photo. Not great. Then maybe it's time to stop being sweet Megan and start being smart Megan, the one who saves lives and builds tracking systems and survives this fucking family, because Dad made one mistake in all his careful planning. What's that? The airline account. He's too arrogant to change passwords, uses the same one for everything. Irish Rose 1987, Mom's favorite flower and Amy's birth year. But here's the thing, the account recovery email, it's tied to your old email address. The one from high school he made you create for family communications. My heart pounded. I still have access to that email. Exactly, he never removed it because he assumes you're too broken to fight back, too desperate for approval to use it against him. Tyler leaned forward, his eyes intense. So the question is, are you ready to show them what happens when they mistake kindness for weakness? I thought about the scratched photos, the stolen money, the attempt to destroy my career. 27 years of being their emotional punching bag, their financial ghost, their convenient scapegoat for every family dysfunction. How? I asked simply. Tyler's grin widened. First, we document everything. Every fraud, every theft, every crime. Not for the police, for leverage. Then we wait until they're all seated on that plane, confident in their victory. And then... He pulled out his phone, showing me an airline app. We introduce them to consequences. You want me to cancel their trip? I want you to take back your power. They stole your money, your credit, your peace of mind. Maybe it's time they learned what it feels like to have something precious ripped away without warning. I stared at the app icon my reflection caught in the phone's black screen. The sweet, accommodating Megan who accepted scraps of affection and called them love, who saved lives at work and couldn't save herself at home, who paid for a vacation she couldn't take with money that was no longer hers. They'll know it was me. Good, Tyler said. Let them. What are they going to do? Admit they stole your identity to fund their trip, report you for accessing an account in your name. They've operated in shadows for years because their crimes can't survive daylight. Time to flip on the lights. We spent the next 2 hours in that booth, Tyler showing me evidence he'd collected over 3 years. Screenshots, documents, a paper trail of our father's financial crimes dating back to when I was in elementary school. By the time we left, I understood the full scope of what my family was. Not just cruel or neglectful, but actively criminal, using their children as financial fodder for their lifestyle. One more thing, Tyler said as we stood in the parking lot. Check your email, the high school one. There's something from 3 months ago you need to see. I pulled up the dusty account on my phone, scrolling through years of family newsletters I'd never read and school reunion invitations I'd ignored. There it was, 3 months old, from an address I didn't recognize. Investor group regarding patent filing, I read aloud. Open it. The email was formal, asking to verify my involvement in a medical software patent filed under our father's new company. My name was listed as co-developer who'd signed away rights. Attached was a signature page I'd never seen with my name in a forgery so bad it was almost insulting. He's not just stealing from us anymore, Tyler said quietly. He's committing fraud against investors, using our names, our work, our lives as collateral for his schemes. This isn't just family dysfunction, Megan. This is a criminal enterprise, and we're the unwilling partners he's drafted. I closed the email, my decision crystallizing like ice in my veins. 27 years of being their victim. 27 years of accepting crumbs and calling it love. 27 years of being scratched out of photos while funding their lives with my existence. Irish Rose 1989, I confirmed. Tyler nodded. Every account, email, banking, airlines, he's nothing if not consistent. I thought about them sleeping peacefully tonight, confident in their cruelty. Mom with her new Louis Vuitton luggage packed with clothes bought on credit cards in my name. Dad with his investor presentations built on my stolen work. Amy with her social media posts about real family counting down to a vacation funded by my identity. Even Brad complicit in his silence, ready to enjoy the fruits of my financial destruction. In 48 hours, they'd head to the airport for their real family vacation. The one I'd saved for, sacrificed for, dreamed of. The one they'd not only stolen from me, but made me pay for in every possible way. Tyler, I said, my voice steady for the first time in days. Tell me everything about Dad's investor meeting in Hawaii. Every detail. Because if we're going to destroy him, I want it to be complete. He smiled, the family resemblance suddenly clear in our matching expressions of cold determination. Now, you're thinking like a survivor. Welcome to the resistance, little sister. Tuesday morning came with a strange sense of clarity. I'd spent the night documenting everything Tyler had shown me, creating my own paper trail of evidence. Bank statements, credit reports, screenshots of Amy's social media posts, the security footage of her at my workplace. The mountain of proof felt both empowering and suffocating. This was my family reduced to evidence files and fraud documentation. I was making coffee in my small apartment kitchen when my phone rang. Tyler's number appeared, but when I answered, his voice was tense, almost whispered. Change of plans, can't talk long. Dad's having me watched. He's suspicious about dinner last night. Watched, Tyler, what? Listen carefully. I'm about to tell Dad I'm backing out of Hawaii. Family emergency, with my business, can't make it. He'll be furious, but it'll lower his guard. I need you to play a long act like you don't know. But the plant is still on, but I can't be seen near you again. Megan, there's more I didn't tell you last night. About why I really left 3 years ago. About what Dad's capable of when cornered. Check your email. The old one, I sent everything. The line went dead. I stared at my phone, heart pounding. Watched. It sounded paranoid, like something from a crime show rather than my suburban family drama. But then again, I'd thought identity theft only happened to strangers too. I opened the old email account, finding Tyler's message immediately. The subject line was innocuous family photos, but the attachments made my blood run cold. Police reports, 3 of them filed by Tyler over 2 years. Stalking complaints against Dad, harassment charges that went nowhere, photos of Tyler slashed tires his apartment door with ungrateful spray painted across it, a medical report showing a broken wrist from when he'd been mugged by someone who took nothing but whispered, "Family doesn't abandon family." The final attachment was a voice recording, Tyler's voice shaky but determined. This is Tyler Morrison recording this on March 15th, 2021, in case anything happens to me. My father, David Morrison, has been stalking and harassing me since I confronted him about stealing my business idea and committing identity theft. He's threatened to destroy my life if I go to the authorities. I'm leaving town tonight, but I need this on record. If something happens to me, investigate my father. I sank into a chair, the coffee forgotten. This wasn't just financial crime anymore. This was dangerous. Actually, dangerous. And I just agreed to cancel their flights while they sat captive on a plane. My phone buzzed, a text from Dad. Tyler just canceled for Hawaii. Business emergency, he claims. Disappointing, but expected. Once a failure, always a failure. Unlike him, I hope you'll be reliable about house sitting. The casualness of it, the easy lie about Tyler's cancellation made me nauseous. Tyler was right to get out. But why was he helping me now? Why risk Dad's attention again? Another text, this one from an unknown number. This is T, new phone. Dad bought my excuse, but he's spooked. Be careful. He moved up some timeline. Check Mom's Facebook. I pulled up Mom's profile, something I rarely did since it was mostly wine memes and yoga poses, but there was a new post from an hour ago. So excited for our family trip tomorrow. Moved our flight up a day early to beat the weather. Hawaii, here we come. Tomorrow. They'd moved the flight to tomorrow, Wednesday morning instead of Thursday, less than 24 hours away. My window had just shrunk dramatically. The comments were already flowing. Friends congratulating them, asking about the kids coming along. Mom's response chilled me. Just taking our real daughter Amy and her wonderful husband. Sometimes smaller groups make for better memories. Our real daughter. Singular. As if Tyler and I had been erased from existence entirely. I called in sick to work, something I'd never done before. Dr. Chen's concern was evident, even through the phone, probably worried about my mental state after yesterday's drama. But I couldn't face the hospital today. I had preparation to do and a rapidly closing window to do it in. I spent the morning at the bank trying to separate my finances from the tangled web my parents had created. The banker, a kind woman named Patricia, looked increasingly horrified as I explained the situation. "Your parents did this," she asked, staring at the credit report. "All of it. Family doesn't prosecute family," I quoted bitterly. "That's what they count on." She helped me close the joint account, open a new one file. Fraud alerts with every credit bureau. It would take months, maybe years to undo the damage, but it was a start. "You know," Patricia said quietly as she processed the paperwork, "I see this more than you'd think. Parents who view their children as financial resources rather than people to protect. It's heartbreaking every time. Did any of them ever get justice?" She paused. "Legal justice, rarely, but many found other ways to reclaim their power. Sometimes the best revenge is simply refusing to be a victim anymore." I thought about Tyler's recording his slashed tires, his broken wrist. What if refusing isn't enough? What if they escalate? Then you protect yourself. Document everything. Tell trusted people and never ever meet them alone. She handed me a business card. "This is a lawyer who specializes in family financial abuse. Just in case." I left the bank feeling slightly more in control, though the weight of what I was about to do pressed heavy on my shoulders. One more stop before the final preparation. I needed supplies. The office supply store was nearly empty on a Tuesday afternoon. I loaded my cart with folders, labels, a portable scanner. If I was going to war with my family, I'd be organized about it. The teenager at checkout didn't blink at my purchases, probably used to frantic students preparing for finals. Back in my apartment, I transformed my kitchen table into a command center. Financial documents in one pile, identity theft evidence in another, Tyler's police reports in a third. I scanned everything, uploading to multiple cloud services. If something happened to me, the evidence would survive. As afternoon bled into evening, I found myself staring at the airline website. Irish Rose 1987. Such a simple password for such a complicated man. My finger hovered over the login button. Once I did this, there was no going back. No pretending it was a mistake. No claiming innocence. My phone rang, startling me from my thoughts. Tyler's new number. "You ready for this?" he asked without preamble. They moved the flight to tomorrow morning. I know, Dad's getting paranoid, probably worried about weather delays cutting into his investor meetings. The man plans everything down to the minute. "Tyler, why are you helping me? After what he did to you, why come back into this mess?" Silence stretched between us before he answered. "Because I've spent 3 years running and hiding and looking over my shoulder. Because I built a successful business and can't even enjoy it, always waiting for him to appear and claim it as his own. Because I'm tired of being afraid of a man who should have protected us instead of preying on us. The recording you sent, did he really break my wrist? No. He hired someone to do it. Very careful, our father. Never leaves fingerprints. Just like with your workplace incident. Amy makes the call, Brad sends the text, Mom provides alibis. He orchestrates from the shadows. So why risk it now?" Tyler's laugh was bitter. "Because I realized something. He's not actually that smart. He's just cruel, and most people can't fathom that level of cruelty from a parent, so they don't see it coming. But once you know the playbook, you can predict the moves. Like moving up the flight, classic dad trying to control the narrative. What's the investor meeting about? The one in Hawaii? Medical software. He's pitching a patient tracking system that revolutionizes hospital efficiency. Sound familiar? My system. The one I had developed over 2 years, tested and refined until it cut patient processing time by 30%. The one that had earned me a recognition from the hospital board. He can't pitch that. He doesn't even understand how it works. He doesn't need to. He has your emails explaining it to colleagues, your development notes from your laptop, even your presentation slides from the last staff meeting. Amy did thorough work. He'll present it as a family innovation with you, as a silent partner who prefers the medical side to the business side. That's insane. I could sue. With what money? With what time? While fighting what lawyers? He's counting on you being too broken by the identity theft and the Hawaii exclusion to fight back. Just another Thursday in the Morrison family business model. I stared at my evidence piles, seeing the pattern Tyler described. Every cruelty calculated, every betrayal strategic. What happens if I cancel their flights? Best case, they miss the meeting, lose the investors, and their house of cards starts crumbling. Worst case, Dad realizes you're not broken anymore and escalates. Like he did with you. I survived. You will too. But Megan, once you do this, you need to disappear for a while. Don't be at your apartment tomorrow. Don't go to work. Don't be anywhere they'd expect to find you. I can't just vanish. I have a job, patients who need me. You have $43,000 in fraudulent debt and parents who've proven they'll destroy your career without hesitation. Your patients need you alive and functional, not broken by whatever Dad does next. He was right. I hated that he was right. There's a motel off Route 9, Tyler continued. Cash only, no questions asked. Book a room for a week. I'll wire you money tonight. I can't take your money. It's not charity, it's reparations. Some of my success was built on code I wrote while Dad was stealing my first idea. Consider it overdue sibling support. Besides, we're in this together now. Together. The word felt foreign when applied to my family, but maybe Tyler wasn't family in the way I'd always defined it. Maybe he was something better, an ally who understood the battlefield because he'd survived it too. Tyler, after this is over, after whatever happens tomorrow, will you disappear again? A long pause. I don't know. Depends on how it plays out. But Megan, you won't be alone, I promise you that. Us survivors have to stick together. After we hung up, I made my preparations, packed a bag with essentials, gathered my documents into a lockbox, downloaded the airline app to my phone. Everything ready for tomorrow's war except my nerve. I picked up the framed photo from my bookshelf, the one family picture I'd kept. Christmas 5 years ago, before Tyler left. We all looked happy, the perfect American family. But now I could see the truth beneath the smiles. Dad's hand on Tyler's shoulder, possessive rather than paternal. Mom's wine glass, her third or fourth of the evening. Amy's smile that never reached her eyes. And me desperate and trying too hard, leaning in like I was afraid they'd crop me out, which it turned out they had been doing all along. I set the photo face down and opened my laptop. Time to practice logging into airline accounts. Time to memorize exactly which buttons to push. Time to prepare for the moment when I'd stop being their victim and start being their consequence. Outside, a car drove slowly past my apartment building. Could have been anyone. Probably was no one. But Tyler's paranoia was contagious, and I found myself double-checking the locks and closing the blinds. Tomorrow morning, my family would head to the airport for their perfect vacation, confident in their cruelty and my compliance. They'd check their luggage bought with my savings, board their plane funded by my identity, settle into seats purchased with my stolen credit, and then if I had the courage Tyler believed I possessed, they'd learn what happened when you mistook kindness for weakness, when you pushed the family scapegoat too far. I stared at the password field on the airline website. Irish Rose 1987. Such a simple key to such a complicated revenge. Tomorrow, everything would change. Tonight, I just had to survive my own doubts. The motel Tyler recommended was exactly as advertised, a forgotten relic where cash was king and questions were unwelcome. I checked in Tuesday night under a fake name, paying for a week upfront with money Tyler had wired to a nearby Western Union. The clerk, a weathered woman who'd seen too much, barely glanced at my face before handing over a key to room 12. I'd barely settled in when Tyler called. "You safe?" "Depends on your definition. This place has mysterious stains and a broken deadbolt. But no surveillance cameras and no requirement for ID. Trust me, that matters more right now. You ready to hear the full plan?" I sat on the questionable bedspread laptop open. I'm logged into the airline account. Their flight is at 9 a.m. First class to Honolulu with a connection through Los Angeles. Perfect. But canceling the flights is just the opening move. Pull up Dad's email, same password. My fingers hesitated. That's illegal. Accessing someone's email. So is identity theft. So is fraud. So is stalking. You want to play by rules that only apply to you, or do you want to win? I typed in the password. His inbox materialized a mix of work emails, investor correspondence, and spam. I'm in. Search for Meridian Investment Group. Those are his Hawaii targets. The emails appeared a long chain discussing the revolutionary medical software that would transform hospital efficiency. My stomach churned reading Dad's lies. He'd positioned himself as a veteran healthcare innovator, me as his brilliant but reclusive daughter who preferred patient care to boardrooms. The stolen screenshots of my system were attached as proof of concept. "He's meeting them Thursday afternoon at the Royal Hawaiian," I noted. "Conference room booked for a 4-hour presentation." Now check his calendar. What else is scheduled? I navigated to his calendar, finding a meticulously planned week. Investor meetings, golf with potential partners, dinners at restaurants I couldn't afford on a nurse's salary. But one appointment made me gasp. He has a meeting with Blake Richardson from Richardson Medical Systems. That's the company that tried to recruit me last year. I turned them down because I wanted to stay with pediatrics. Tyler's voice was grim. "He's not just stealing your current work, Megan. He's positioning himself to steal your future opportunities too. Check the email thread with Richardson." I found my vision blurring with rage as I read. Dad had introduced himself as my business manager, explaining that I was brilliant but needed guidance on the business side. He'd shared my resume, my published papers on pediatric efficiency, even my LinkedIn recommendations, all positioning himself as the gateway to accessing my talent. "He's shopping me," I whispered, "like I'm a product he owns. Welcome to why I left." He did the same with my programming skills until I vanished. But here's what he doesn't know: I've been in touch with Richardson. Warned him about Dad 6 months ago when I saw the initial contact. Richardson's been playing along, gathering evidence. Evidence for what? Corporate fraud. Turns out impersonating someone for business gain is seriously illegal when publicly traded companies are involved. Richardson's legal team has been building a case waiting for Dad to make his move. The Hawaii meeting? It's a trap. I stared at the screen pieces clicking together. So even if I don't cancel the flights, he's walking into career suicide, but that's assuming he gets there. Which brings us to the beautiful part. When you cancel those flights tomorrow morning, he won't just miss a vacation. He'll miss his own professional destruction. The investigators will think he got spooked and ran. His absence will be seen as an admission of guilt. Tyler, this is exactly what he deserves, I know, but it gets better. Pull up Mom's email, same password with her birth year, Irish Rose, 1962. Mom's inbox was a stark contrast to Dad's online shopping confirmations, yoga class schedules, wine club newsletters. But Tyler directed me to a folder labeled Family Finances. Holy shit, I breathed. The folder contained years of correspondence with someone named Margaret Chen, a private investigator. Mom had been tracking Dad's hidden assets, documenting his affairs, building her own insurance policy. She's been planning to divorce him for 3 years, but she needs him financially ruined first so he can't hide assets or afford good lawyers. She's been waiting for him to overreach to finally commit a crime she can't ignore. Guess what identity theft and fraud qualify as? My head spun, so Mom knows everything. She's been complicit while secretly planning to throw him under the bus the moment it benefits her. Yes, our mother, the strategic sociopath. She learned from the best. What about Amy? Tyler laughed darkly. Check Dad's texts with her. I navigated to his messages, finding the thread with Amy. The casual cruelty in their exchanges made me nauseous. Plans to gaslight me, strategies to access my work files, jokes about my pathetic savings attempt. But the recent messages showed cracks. Amy's been asking about her trust fund, I noted. Dad keeps deflecting. Because there is no trust fund. He spent it years ago. Amy's about to learn what happens when you're no longer useful to David Morrison. Check her credit report next. You're not the only identity he's stolen. I can't check someone else's. I can and did. Amy has $17,000 in credit card debt she doesn't know about, mostly from Dad's business expenses, hidden as online shopping. She's been so busy helping him destroy us, she never noticed he was destroying her too. The motel room suddenly felt too small. This wasn't just about canceled vacations anymore. This was about a family patriarch who viewed his children as renewable resources, a mother who played victim while orchestrating her own schemes, a golden child about to learn she was just another mark. Brad doesn't know, I said, remembering his clueless confidence, about any of it. Brad's an idiot who married for money that doesn't exist. Wait until he finds out his wife is $17,000 in debt, and her trust fund is fiction. Think he'll stick around? This is going to destroy everyone. No, Megan. Dad destroyed everyone years ago. We're just turning on the lights so everybody can see the wreckage. I closed the laptop, overwhelmed. Tyler, what happened to us? We used to be. I remember being happy. Sometimes. Didn't we? We were kids. Kids don't see the rot beneath the paint. But think about it. Were you ever really happy, or were you just grateful for moments when they weren't actively cruel? The question hung between us, unanswerable and devastating. So tomorrow, I said, changing the subject. I wait until they're at the airport. Until they're through security, past the point of no return. Then you log in, cancel everything. Flights, hotel, car, rental, the works. But here's the crucial part. You also need to email the investor group from Dad's account. Just one line, family emergency must postpone. Make them think he's flaking. Won't they reschedule? Not after Richardson's team alerts them to the fraud investigation. Missing this meeting kills his credibility permanently. What about the police? When Dad realizes what happened, he'll what? Report that someone canceled trips booked with stolen money and fraudulent credit cards? He's trapped by his own crimes. The only move is to rage privately while his world burns publicly. I thought about tomorrow morning. Dad strutting through the airport confident in his schemes. Mom secretly calculating divorce settlements. Amy posting Instagram stories oblivious to her own financial ruin. Brad blissfully unaware he'd married into a crime family. Tyler, why didn't you warn me sooner? 3 years you've known all this. Silence. Then quietly, because I was angry at all of you. You kept choosing them, kept hoping, kept going back. I watched from a distance as you saved for that Hawaii trip, some part of me thinking you needed to learn the hard way. But when I saw what they did, the workplace sabotage, the identity theft, the systematic destruction, I realized you weren't choosing them. You were a victim too programmed to know she had options. So what changed? You did. The Megan from 6 months ago would have accepted the house-sitting duty and spent the week crying. The Megan from yesterday documented evidence and met me at a diner. You're finally angry, and anger is the only emotion they can't manipulate. He was right. The constant hurt had transformed into something harder, cleaner. Rage, maybe, or just clarity. After tomorrow, after I do this, then what? Then you disappear for a while. Let them implode without you as an audience. I've got a friend with a cabin upstate. Off the grid, safe, quiet. Stay there while the lawyers sort through the wreckage. Lawyers. Richardson's team wants to depose you about the software theft. Mom's divorce attorney will need your testimony about the financial abuse. The credit card companies will require statements about the fraud. You're about to become very popular in legal circles. I just wanted to go to Hawaii with my family. I said the words small and pathetic in the dingy motel room. No, Tyler corrected gently. You wanted a family worth going to Hawaii with. What you have are criminals who share your DNA. Tomorrow, you stop pretending there's a difference. After we hung up, I sat in the flickering light of the ancient television, not really watching whatever rerun was playing. In 8 hours, my family would wake up for their dream vacation. In 9 hours, they'd arrive at the airport. In 10 hours, I'd destroy everything. I pulled up the airline account one more time, practicing the clicks. Cancel reservation, confirm cancellation, process refund, no refund for last-minute cancellations. Good. Let them eat the cost along with everything else. My phone buzzed, a text from Amy. Don't forget to water my orchids. Instructions on the kitchen counter. Try not to kill them like you kill everything else you touch. I stared at her casual cruelty, the assumption I'd still serve even after being excluded. Tomorrow, she'd learn what her loyalty to Dad had bought her. Debt divorce and dead orchids because I sure as hell wasn't house-sitting anymore. Another text, this one from Dad. Reminder, alarm code is your birthday. At least it's useful for something. See you in 10 days. My birthday as the alarm code. Even home security was a reminder of my place in the family hierarchy, useful only as a number of function of service. One final text from Mom. We left some frozen dinners in the freezer. Please don't order takeout on the credit cards. The credit cards in my name that they'd maxed out. The frozen dinners for the daughter not worth a real meal. The casual assumption I'd be grateful for scraps. I turned off my phone and closed the laptop. Tomorrow would bring consequences none of them could imagine. But tonight, in this shabby motel room that smelled like cigarettes and broken dreams, I had something I'd never had in my family home. Peace. The knowledge that tomorrow, for the first time in 27 years, I wouldn't be their victim. I'd be their reckoning. I woke at 3 a.m. adrenaline replacing the need for coffee. The motel room was dark except for the glow of my laptop screen already open to the airline website. Outside, the occasional car passed on the highway, their headlights briefly illuminating the water-stained curtains. 4 hours until they'd wake up. 5 until they'd leave for the airport. 6 until they'd passed through security. I had time, but anxiety made every minute feel crucial. I pulled up Dad's email again, needing to understand the full scope of his plans. The investor meeting was just the beginning. His correspondence revealed a web of lies stretching back years. He'd been building this false reputation as a healthcare innovator since Tyler left, using both our accomplishments as stepping stones. One email chain made me pause. It was with a journalist from Tech Health Quarterly about a profile piece on family innovation in medical technology. Dad had scheduled an interview for Friday in Hawaii, planning to showcase the software as a father-daughter collaboration. The journalist seemed excited about the heartwarming angle of a family working together to save lives. I laughed bitterly. Heartwarming? If only she knew the daughter in question was drowning in fraudulent debt while her family vacationed on her stolen savings. My phone, turned back on for monitoring purposes, showed 17 missed calls from various family members over the night. I ignored them all, focusing on the meticulous documentation Tyler had taught me. Screenshots of every email, every transaction, every lie. All uploaded to multiple cloud services under accounts they'd never think to check. At 4:30, I cracked. I called Tyler. "Can't sleep either," he answered on the first ring. "I keep thinking I'm going to back out, that I'll see their names on the reservation and not be able to click cancel. Want to know what helped me when I was leaving 3 years ago, scared he'd find me? What? I made a list. Every cruel thing, every theft, every moment they made me feel worthless. Not the big stuff that was too overwhelming. The small cruelties, the daily cuts that bled us dry. I grabbed the motel notepad and started writing. Dad laughing when I asked for help with college applications. Mom forgetting my high school graduation. Amy cutting my face out of her wedding photos because I didn't match the aesthetic. The birthday parties that were never for me, just excuses for Amy to get presents. The Christmas mornings watching them exchange thoughtful gifts while mine were obviously afterthoughts. "Read them out loud," Tyler instructed. "The time Dad told my prom date I was desperate and would be grateful for any attention." My voice shook. When Mom donated my childhood toys while I was at school because cluttered rooms mean cluttered minds. Amy posting on Facebook that she was an only child and blocking me when I commented. Dad using my social security number when I was 12 to open a credit card because his credit was shot. The list grew memory after memory of casual cruelties they'd probably forgotten the moment they occurred. But I'd carried each one like a stone in my chest. "Feel that anger?" Tyler asked. "That's 27 years of abuse distilled into ink. They turned you into their personal ATM and emotional punching bag. You don't owe them mercy. What if they retaliate like they did with you? Then you'll have evidence. Document everything. Record if legal in your state. Never meet them alone. And remember, they're about to be too busy with lawyers to focus on revenge." By 5:30, the sun was creeping through the curtains. I showered in the dubious motel bathroom, dressed in clothes that felt like armor. Plain jeans, dark sweater, nothing memorable. If anyone asked later, I'd be impossible to describe. Just another traveler passing through. I checked Dad's email one more time. A new message from the airline. "Check-in reminder for your flight today." He'd already checked them all in selecting seats with the smugness of someone who never doubted his plans would proceed perfectly. 6 o'clock. They'd be awake now. I pictured the scene: Dad in his pressed khakis and polo shirt, checking his phone obsessively. Mom coordinating luggage with the efficiency of a general preparing for war. Amy would be posting sunrise selfies, hashtags about blessed lives and family adventures. Brad loading suitcases, clueless about the financial bomb about to detonate in his marriage. My phone rang. "Dad," I let it go to voicemail. "Megan, just confirming you'll be at the house by 8. The plant instructions are very specific. Also, the pool guy comes Thursday. Make sure you're there to let him in. Don't embarrass us by letting the house fall apart. Don't embarrass us." As if I was the family embarrassment, not the father stealing from his children or the mother documenting his crimes while playing victim. 6:30, another call, this time from Amy. "I know you were awake. You always are by now. Pick up." A pause. "Fine, just remember the orchids need distilled water, not tap. I'll know if you use tap. And stay out of our bedroom. Brad's installing a camera, so don't even think about snooping. A camera, because even excluded from vacation, I couldn't be trusted. The irony of criminals worried about theft wasn't lost on me. 7 o'clock. They'd be loading the car now. I pulled up the airline account password, entering smoothly after days of practice. Their reservation appeared 5 first-class tickets totaling more than my monthly salary, all purchased with credit cards in my name, funded by my savings, justified by my stolen work. 7:30, a text from mom, leaving for airport. Alarm code is 041598. Don't forget. My birthday. Even in their final communication, I was reduced to a security code. I navigated through the reservation system, familiarizing myself with each button. Cancel flight, modify reservation, change seats. So much power in such simple options. My finger hovered over the screen, trembling slightly. 7:45. Tyler texted, "They're at the airport. Security footage confirms it." "How do you—" "I have friends. They just pulled up to departures." My heart raced. This was really happening. In minutes, they'd check their bags, confident in their cruelty. They'd breeze through pre-check, a luxury purchased with my credit. They'd settle into the lounge, toasting their clever manipulation of the family disappointment. 8 o'clock. "They're checking bags," Tyler reported. "Dad's arguing about an overweight fee. Classic." 8:15. "Through security. Mom's buying airport wine already." 8:20. "Amy just posted from the gate. Hawaii bound with the fam, so blessed." Brad's commenting heart emojis. 8:25. "They're boarding group 1. Dad's showing off the first-class tickets to anyone watching." My entire body vibrated with anticipation and fear. Once they were on the plane, they'd be trapped. No way to leave without causing a scene. No way to fix what I was about to break. 8:30. Doors closed. They're pushing back from the gate. This was it. The moment of no return. They were locked in a metal tube, probably ordering champagne and congratulating themselves on another successful manipulation of stupid, gullible Megan. I logged into the airline account one final time. Their reservation filled the screen, every detail, a reminder of their theft. First-class seats purchased with fraud, premium meals bought with my savings, extra legroom funded by my identity. My finger moved to the cancellation button. One click to destroy their plans. One click to return every cruelty. One click to stop being their victim. But first, one more task. I opened Dad's email and navigated to his investor contacts. The email was simple. "Due to an unexpected family emergency, I must postpone our Thursday meeting. I apologize for any inconvenience and will be in touch when circumstances allow. David Morrison." I hit send, watching it disappear into the digital ether, his credibility destroyed with 30 words. Then I returned to the airline page. The cancellation button seemed to pulse with possibility. 27 years of being their afterthought, their burden, their convenient scapegoat. 8 months of saving for a trip they never meant to include me on. 43,000 authors of debt I never created. A career they tried to sabotage. A life they felt entitled to destroy. I thought about Tyler's broken wrist, my scratched-out photos, the birthday parties that were never mine, the family vacations I watched from behind house-sitting duties, the love they dangled like a carrot I could never quite reach. 8:35, they'd be settling in now. Dad probably already on his laptop, Mom with her wine. Amy taking photos of the first-class amenities. Brad probably wondering if the Wi-Fi was free. I clicked cancel. The screen changed immediately. "Are you sure you want to cancel this reservation? This action cannot be undone." I clicked yes. Cancellation confirmed. No refund available for last-minute cancellations. An email confirmation has been sent to all passengers. I stared at the screen, waiting for guilt that never came. Instead, a strange lightness filled my chest, like I'd been holding my breath for 27 years and finally remembered how to exhale. My phone exploded with notifications. I turned it off without looking. Whatever rage was pouring through their texts could wait. Right now, I had more work to do. I canceled the hotel reservation, the car rental, the dinner reservations at restaurants I'd never see. Each cancellation was another bar of my prison falling away. By the time I finished, their dream vacation was nothing but deleted pixels and forfeited deposits. The motel room felt different now, less like a hideout and more like a command center. I'd done it. Actually done it. Somewhere over California, my family was discovering their plans in ruins, their schemes unraveling, their victim finally fighting back. Tyler called. Flight tracking shows they're in the air. Want to bet how long before they demand the plane turn around? Dad's probably screaming at flight attendants right now. While Mom calculates if this affects her divorce timeline, and Amy realizes her Instagram stories are about to get really awkward. We sat in comfortable silence, two siblings finally on the same side. You did good, Megan. How does it feel? I considered the question. How did it feel to destroy the vacation I desperately wanted to join, to strand the family who'd never wanted me, to finally stop being their convenient victim? Like justice, I said. It feels like justice. The silence lasted exactly 47 minutes. That's how long it took for their plane to reach cruising altitude, for the Wi-Fi to activate, for the first wave of email confirmations to hit their phones. I knew because at 8:32, Tyler's phone exploded with forwarded screenshots from his monitoring sources. They're melting down, he reported, poorly suppressed glee in his voice. Amy's having what appears to be a full panic attack. The flight attendants are concerned. I was sitting in a diner 5 miles from the motel, surrounded by truckers and travelers who had no idea they were sharing space with someone who just detonated a family bomb from 30,000 feet below. My coffee grew cold as I watched the notifications roll in on the laptop. The airline had been efficient. Cancellation confirmations sent to every email on the reservation. Hotel cancellation, car rental cancellation, even the dinner reservations, each one a digital nail in their vacation coffin. Dad's trying to call the airline from the plane, Tyler continued. The air marshal has been notified about a disruptive passenger in 2A. This is better than Christmas. My phone briefly turned on to check the damage, showed 143 missed calls, 89 texts, 47 voicemails. I turned it off again without reading any of them. The diner's ancient jukebox played Patsy Cline, a fitting soundtrack for falling to pieces. At 9:15, the first email arrived in my old account. From Dad, naturally, because he'd discovered the connection. Megan, I know this was you. Fix this immediately or face consequences you cannot imagine. All caps, the digital equivalent of his red-faced screaming that had terrified me as a child. But I wasn't a child anymore. The second email came from Amy, her panic evident in the typos. Megan, what have you done? Daddy is going insane. The flight attendants are threatening to restrain him. Answer your phone. Then Mom, her message characteristically focused on herself. Your father is having a cardiac event. If he dies on this plane, it's your fault. I hope you're satisfied with destroying your family. Destroying my family, as if they hadn't been systematically destroying me for 27 years. Should I respond? I asked Tyler. Absolutely not. Let them scream into the void. Besides, you're about to be busy. Check Richardson's email. I switched tabs to find a message from Blake Richardson himself, sent 10 minutes ago. Ms. Morrison, I've just received word that your father has canceled our meeting. Given the concerning information we've discovered about his business practices, we'd like to speak with you directly. Please call at your earliest convenience. He knows it was me. Richardson's sharp. Dad cancels right after boarding a plane he can't get off. Doesn't take a detective. Plus, I may have given him a heads up that today would be interesting. My laptop dinged. Another email from Dad, this one more calculated. Megan, there's been a misunderstanding. If you restore our reservations immediately, we can discuss adding you to the trip. Surely that's what you wanted. Adding me to the trip. Like I was a forgotten item on a grocery list, easily inserted if it kept the peace. The manipulation was so transparent, it was almost insulting. He's bargaining, I told Tyler, offering to add me to the trip. Tyler's laugh was sharp. With what money, those first-class tickets are gone. No refunds. He'd have to buy new ones at last-minute prices. 20 grand minimum for all of them. Watch how fast his generosity evaporates when he checks his credit cards. As if on cue, another email arrived. Forget my last message. You've made your point. We'll discuss this when we return. Do not touch anything else. Now he's threatening. What's he going to do? Ground me? I'm 27 and don't live there. He's realizing he's powerless, probably for the first time in his life. A narcissist's worst nightmare consequences he can't control, manipulate, or buy his way out of. The diner waitress refilled my coffee kindly, not mentioning my shaking hands. I must have looked like a woman on the edge, which wasn't far from the truth. But it was the edge of freedom, not breakdown. 9:45. The emails shifted tone. Amy again. The captain says Dad has to calm down or they'll land the plane. He's screaming about lawsuits. Mom's crying. Brad threw up. You've ruined everything. Good. Let them experience a fraction of the chaos they'd sown in my life. Let Dad rage impotently while strangers judged him. Let Mom's tears be public for once. Let Amy's perfect image crumble at 30,000 feet. Then came the voicemail transcription I couldn't resist reading from a number I didn't recognize. Brad's voice slurred with air sickness and shock. Megan, it's Brad. I don't understand what's happening. Amy's saying you stole from us, but her dad is screaming about identity theft and fraud. What fraud? What's he talking about? Why does Amy have 17,000 in credit card debt? Call me back. Please, I think I married into something I don't understand. Poor stupid Brad. Collateral damage in a war he never knew was being fought. Brad left a message, I told Tyler. He's starting to figure out something's wrong. Wait until he learns his wife's trust fund is fiction and she's been helping commit fraud. Think he'll stick around for the federal investigation. Federal investigation. The word sent ice through my veins. Tyler, am I going to be in trouble for this? Accessing their accounts. With passwords you legitimately knew because the airline account is in your email, canceling reservations paid for. With your stolen money, you're the victim here, not the perpetrator. Any decent lawyer will have a field day with this. 10 o'clock. They'd been in the air for an hour and a half with 3 more to go before Los Angeles. 3 hours of trapped rage forced to sit in the luxury they'd stolen while their plans crumbled. The poetic justice was almost too perfect. Another email from Dad, this one with a different strategy. Megan, I've just spoken with the captain. He's informed me that filing a false complaint about reservation theft could result in federal charges. I'm sure neither of us wants that. Let's handle this as a family. Handle this as a family. The hypocrisy was breathtaking. When had we ever handled anything as a family? When had I been included in that sacred circle? He's scared, Tyler observed, mentioned federal charges. He's realizing how many crimes he's committed and how they all trace back to him. Should I be documenting these emails for evidence? Screenshot everything. The threats, the manipulation attempts, the admissions. His email about false complaints is basically him admitting he knows the reservations were illegitimate. Your lawyer will love that. My lawyer. The phrase felt surreal. Yesterday, I was a pediatric nurse saving for a family vacation. Today, I was a victim of identity theft planning legal strategy while my family imploded over the Pacific. 10:15 brought a new player. Mom from her personal email. Megan, I don't know what your father told you, but I had no knowledge of any financial irregularities. If you've discovered something concerning, I'd appreciate the opportunity to discuss it privately, away from David. She's distancing herself, Tyler said when I read it to him, establishing plausible deniability for the divorce. But she knew. She had to know. Of course she knew, but knowing and proving are different things. She's been playing the long game, remember? This just accelerated her timeline. The emails kept coming. Amy with rage. Dad with threats, morphing into bargaining, morphing back to threats. Brad with confused pleas for explanation. Mom with careful legal distance. A family fracturing in real time, all while stuck in a metal tube hurtling through the sky. The best message came at 10:45, forwarded by Tyler from one of his sources. It was an internal airline communication. Passenger in 2A, David Morrison, has been formally warned about disruptive behavior. One more incident will result in law enforcement meeting the aircraft in LAX. Passenger in 2B, Patricia Morrison, has requested to be reseated away from 2A. Denied due to full flight. Passenger in 2C, Amy Sullivan, is hyperventilating. Medical consulting with ground physicians. Your mom asked to be reseated away from Dad. Tyler laughed. She's literally trying to distance herself physically, and Amy's getting medical attention for panic. I should have felt guilty. Some part of me waited for the familiar crush of responsibility, the need to fix what I'd broken, to apologize for existing. But it never came. Instead, I felt free. Like I'd been carrying their baggage for so long I'd forgotten what it felt like to stand up straight. What happens when they land? I asked. Best case, they realize they're stuck in LA with no hotel, no car, no continuing flight. They'll have to book new tickets home at massive prices. Worst case for them, Dad does something stupid and gets arrested. Either way, they're not making it to Hawaii. And the investor meeting? Dead. Richardson got the cancellation notice. Combined with the fraud evidence, David Morrison is professionally radioactive. No legitimate investor will touch him. I closed the laptop, suddenly exhausted. In 2 hours, I dismantled 27 years of power dynamics. David the patriarch was now David the criminal. Amy the golden child was now Amy the accomplice. Mom the victim was now Mom the co-conspirator planning her exit. Brad, the ignorant son-in-law, was now Brad, the guy Googling divorce lawyers from an airplane bathroom. And Megan, the scapegoat, I was just Megan. No role, no function, no family to define me by their cruelty. You did it, Tyler said softly. You actually did it. How does it feel? I thought about the question while Patsy Cline crooned about crazy and the truckers argued about football. How did it feel to implode my family from a diner booth, to strand my abusers in the sky, to finally fight back? Like the first day of the rest of my life, I said, and meant it. The plane wouldn't land for 2 more hours. 2 more hours of their rage echoing in a first-class cabin. 2 more hours of consequences they couldn't escape. 2 more hours of the Morrison family learning what happened when you push the wrong daughter too far. I ordered pie, coconut cream, because I'd never have to see Hawaii with them. It tasted like freedom. It tasted like justice. It tasted like the beginning of everything. By noon, the plane had landed at LAX. I knew because the emails shifted from airborne rage to grounded panic. The first came from Amy, her typical polish cracked. We're stranded at LAX. Do you have any idea how much last-minute tickets cost? Dad's credit cards are all declining. This is insane. I sat in my motel room, curtains drawn against the harsh midday sun, watching the family crisis unfold in real time through digital breadcrumbs. Tyler had set up a new phone for me, a prepaid device that couldn't be traced to my usual accounts. It pinged constantly with his updates. Security footage from LAX is magnificent, he reported. Dad got flagged by TSA for aggressive behavior. They're questioning him separately. The thought of my father, always so controlled and commanding, being questioned by airport security sent an unexpected thrill through me. For once, his carefully maintained image was crumbling in public. Another email from Dad, this one from his phone. The airline is claiming I was disruptive. Me. I'm consulting my attorney about discrimination. Fix the reservations now, and I'll consider not pressing charges against you for theft. Pressing charges against me for theft. The irony was so thick I almost choked on it. Here was a man with $43,000 of fraudulent debt in my name, threatening me with legal action for canceling trips he'd purchased with my money. He's getting desperate, Tyler observed during our next call, threatening you with lawyers he can't afford about crimes you didn't commit. Classic dad, when cornered, double down on delusion. What about Mom? She's been quiet since the landing. Check her Instagram. I navigated to Mom's usually pristine social media expecting radio silence. Instead, I found a post from 30 minutes ago. Sometimes the universe intervenes to show us our true path. Stranded in LA but finding clarity, had new beginnings. Trust, the journey, had solo travel. Solo travel, I read aloud. Is she? Abandoning them at the airport looks like it. My source says she took an Uber to a different terminal. She's booking her own flight, but not to Hawaii. Checking destinations now. Mom jumping ship. I shouldn't have been surprised she'd been planning her exit for years, but the timing was brutal. Dad melting down, Amy panicking, and Mom choosing that moment to make her escape. Brad's number appeared on my burner phone. Tyler must have given it to him. I let it ring through to voicemail, then listened to his message. Megan, I'm at LAX and I think I'm having a panic attack. Your sister just told me about the credit cards in your name. 17,000 in her name, your dad screaming about prison, your mom just left. She said, and I quote, "I'm done being collateral damage in David's schemes." What schemes? What the hell did I marry into? Please call me back. I'm 28 years old and I think my life just exploded. Poor Brad, he'd wanted the successful family, the trust fund wife, the connected father-in-law. Instead, he got a front row seat to the Morrison crime family's spectacular collapse. 1:30 brought the most unhinged communication yet. A voice message from Amy forwarded by Tyler because she'd called his old number. Tyler, I know you're in on this with her. You always were jealous of what Dad and I had. Well, congratulations. You've destroyed a family. I'm stuck at this airport with a husband who won't stop crying and a father who might get arrested. The police want to talk to me about some credit cards I don't even use. Credit cards, this is kidnapping. It's terrorism. I will bury you both. Terrorism, Tyler repeated, laughing. Canceling vacation reservations is terrorism now. Amy's really reaching. She mentioned police asking about credit cards. The fraud in her name. Airport police ran Dad's ID, probably flagged the investigation. Richardson's team triggered. They're connecting dots and Amy's name is all over those dots. 17,000 in fraudulent debt makes her either a victim or an accomplice. Which is she? Depends on what she knew, but given those emails about accessing your work files, she's going to have a hard time playing innocent. 2:00. Radio silence from Dad, which was somehow more ominous than his threats. Amy continued her digital meltdown across every platform, posting increasingly unhinged Instagram stories about family betrayal and calling me out by name. Her followers were beginning to ask concerned questions about her well-being. Then Tyler's phone rang. Unknown number, but he answered on speaker. "Mr. Morrison, this is Blake Richardson. I'm trying to reach your sister Megan. We have some urgent matters to discuss regarding your father's entrepreneurial claims." "She's here," Tyler said, nodding at me. "You're on speaker?" "Miss Morrison, I'll be direct. Your father has been shopping stolen intellectual property to my competitors for months. The patient tracking system he claims to have developed is clearly your work. We have emails, presentations, even code snippets that match your hospital's proprietary system. This is corporate espionage." My throat went dry. "I didn't know he was—" "Of course you didn't. You're the victim here, but we need your cooperation to stop him. He's damaged not just you, but potentially your hospital's intellectual property rights. Are you willing to testify?" "Testify like in court. Ideally, it won't come to that. Most of these cases settle quietly, but your father needs to understand the serious legal ramifications of his actions. My legal team is already in contact with the FBI's white-collar crime division." FBI. The letters hit like physical blows. This wasn't just family drama anymore. This was federal. After Richardson hung up, I sat in stunned silence. Tyler was already researching on his laptop, pulling up information about corporate espionage penalties. 5 to 10 years, he read, for theft of trade secrets. Longer if interstate commerce is involved, which it is since Richardson's company is based in California. "Tyler, I didn't mean for Dad to face consequences for his crimes." "Yes, you did, and he should. This isn't about canceled vacations anymore. He was building an empire on our backs, and empires built on lies deserve to fall." 3:30, a text from an unknown number. "This is your mother. I'm in Phoenix, filing for divorce tomorrow. I need you to testify about the credit cards in your name." It's time David faced consequences. Mom. Phoenix. She'd fled to Arizona, a community property state where she'd have claim to half of everything. Strategic to the end. She wants me to testify in her divorce, I told Tyler. Of course she does. You're evidence of Dad's financial crimes. Your testimony helps her prove fraud, which invalidates any prenup. She's been waiting for this moment for years. So I'm still just a tool to her, just serving a different purpose. At least this purpose ends with Dad facing justice. Take the win where you can get it. 4 o'clock brought the news we'd been waiting for. Tyler's source at LAX reported that Dad had been detained for questioning by airport police. Not arrested, but not free to leave either. Something about discrepancies in his identification and suspicious financial activity flagged by TSA. Amy's Instagram had gone dark after a final story. When family betrays you, you learn who you really are. Some of us build, others destroy. I know which one I am. Build? Tyler scoffed. She built a life on lies and stolen credit. Now she gets to build a legal defense. My burner phone rang. Brad again. This time I answered. Megan? His voice was hoarse, exhausted. I'm at a hotel near LAX. Your dad's with the police. Your mom disappeared. Amy's locked herself in the bathroom and won't come out. I don't understand anything that's happening. What did Amy tell you about the credit cards? A long pause. She said it's a misunderstanding, that your dad was helping build her credit, but the police showed me statements. $17,000. Purchases she swears she didn't make. Megan, I need to know, am I married to a criminal? The pain in his voice was real. Brad might have been oblivious, but he wasn't malicious. He was just another casualty of the Morrison family virus. I don't know what Amy knew or when, I said carefully, but yes, there's fraud, yes, it's serious, and yes, you should probably talk to a lawyer. A divorce lawyer, any lawyer, just protect yourself. This is about to get very ugly. After I hung up, the motel room felt smaller. The fallout was spreading beyond my toxic family to innocents like Brad. But then I remembered I'd been innocent too. Tyler had been innocent. We'd all been collateral damage in Dad's schemes. At least now the damage was flowing in the right direction. 5:30. Tyler arrived at the motel with food and updates. We sat on the questionable bedspread eating Chinese takeout while he showed me his laptop screen. Local news picked it up. He said, prominent businessman detained at LAX for suspicious activity. They don't name him, but the details match. This is going public. Public humiliation. Dad's worst nightmare. He'd spent decades cultivating an image of success and respectability. Now he was just another angry man in airport security, his crimes catching up in the most visible way possible. What happens next? I asked. Legally, Dad faces multiple investigations: financial fraud, identity theft, corporate espionage. Mom files for divorce and takes half of whatever's left. Amy deals with her own credit disaster and possible charges. Brad runs for the hills. And us? Tyler smiled, the first genuine warmth I'd seen from him in years. We heal. We build lives without them. We learn what family really means by creating our own. That simple. God, no. There's months of legal stuff ahead. Therapy to deal with the trauma. Credit to rebuild, careers to protect. But Megan, we're free. For the first time in our lives, we're actually free. As if to underscore his point, my burner phone buzzed with one final message of the day. From Amy. I hope you're happy. Dad's being released, but we're stranded. No money for hotels. No way home. You've won. Congratulations on destroying your family. I looked at the message, waiting for guilt that never came. They weren't stranded. They were facing consequences. They weren't destroyed. They were exposed. And I hadn't destroyed my family. I'd finally escaped it. Delete it, Tyler advised. From now on, all communication goes through lawyers. No more direct contact. No more emotional manipulation. No more being their punching bag. I deleted the message, then the entire thread. 27 years of dysfunction erased with a swipe. If only healing was that simple. But it was a start. Tomorrow there would be lawyers and statements and the messy business of untangling a lifetime of financial abuse. Tonight, though, there was just Tyler and me, two survivors, sharing cheap Chinese food in a rundown motel, finally on the same side. Outside planes passed overhead carrying strangers to destinations they'd actually reach. Somewhere in Los Angeles, my former family was learning what it felt like to be powerless, to be stranded, to be denied. I thought about Hawaii, the vacation I'd never take with them. The beaches I'd never see through their cruel lens. The family moments that would never include me because they'd never really been my family at all. "You okay?" Tyler asked. "Yeah," I said, surprised to find it was true. "I think I actually am." Tomorrow would bring new challenges. But tonight, for the first time in 27 years, I went to sleep without wondering how to earn my family's love. Because you can't earn what was never available, and you can't destroy what was already broken. All you can do is stop letting the sharp edges cut you. Walk away from the wreckage and build something better from the pieces of yourself they couldn't steal. Wednesday morning arrived with an explosion of consequences. Tyler had spent the night on the motel's ancient pull-out couch, both of us too wired on adrenaline to properly sleep. By 6 a.m., we were hunched over his laptop watching the digital aftermath unfold like a slow-motion car crash. "Local news website," Tyler announced, turning the screen toward me. The headline made my stomach drop. "Prominent businessman detained at LAX in fraud investigation." The article was carefully worded to avoid lawsuits, but the details were unmistakable. David Morrison, CEO of Morrison Innovations, questioned regarding financial irregularities, multiple credit cards flagged, possible identity theft, federal investigators involved. "It's really happening," I whispered. "It's actually real." "Just wait," Tyler said grimly. "This is only the beginning." By 7, my burner phone was ringing. The lawyer Tyler had contacted Jennifer Martinez, specialized in financial abuse cases. Her voice was crisp and professional as she walked me through next steps. "First, we need to secure all evidence. Every email, every document, every transaction. Second, you need somewhere safe to stay. These situations can escalate when perpetrators feel cornered." Escalate. The word echoed Tyler's warnings about Dad's response 3 years ago. "I'm at a motel outside town," I assured her. "Good. Stay there for now. I'm filing emergency paperwork to freeze any remaining accounts in your name. Can you come to my office this afternoon? Bring everything." After hanging up, I found Tyler staring at his phone with an odd expression. "They're here." "What?" "Dad, Amy, and Brad. They made it back from LA on a red-eye. My source at the house says they arrived 20 minutes ago." "Mom." "Still in Phoenix. Already filed separation papers. She's moving fast." The thought of them back in town, no longer safely stranded across the country, sent ice through my veins. They knew where I lived, where I worked every pattern of my life, and now they knew I'd fought back. "We should go," Tyler said, already packing. "They'll check your apartment first." But before we could move, my burner rang. Unknown local number. Against Tyler's frantic gesturing, I answered. "Megan," Amy's voice, but different, smaller, broken. "I'm in your apartment parking lot. I need to talk to you. Please." "How did you—" "You're not here, I know, but I remembered your friend Lisa from the hospital. She told me you called in sick. I need 5 minutes. Please." Tyler was shaking his head violently, but something in Amy's voice made me pause. Not the usual contempt or manipulation. Something else. Fear, maybe. Or worse, sincerity. "Rosewood Park," I said finally. "The north entrance, 30 minutes. Come alone." "I will. I promise. And Megan, I'm sorry for everything." After I hung up, Tyler exploded. "Are you insane? It's a trap. Dad's probably in the car with recording equipment." "Maybe, but I need to face them eventually. Better on my terms than theirs." "Then I'm coming with you." "No. Stay hidden. If something goes wrong, you're my backup. Besides, Amy said she's sorry. In 32 years, she's never apologized for anything." Tyler clearly thought I'd lost my mind, but he agreed to wait in his car at the south entrance phone, ready to call police if needed. We drove separately, my hands shaking on the wheel. Rosewood Park was empty on a Wednesday morning, just dog walkers and joggers minding their own business. I positioned myself on a bench with clear sight lines, pulse hammering as I waited. Amy appeared exactly on time, but she looked nothing like the sister I knew. Her usually perfect hair was unwashed, pulled into a messy bun. Her designer clothes were wrinkled like she'd slept in them. Her face, always carefully made up, was bare and blotchy from crying. She stopped 10 feet away, hands visible, no purse or pockets where she could hide a recorder. "Thank you for meeting me." "Start talking," I said, not moving from the bench. Amy sat on the grass, not seeming to care about her expensive jeans. "I found out about the credit cards 3 months ago, my own credit report, for a mortgage application Brad and I were doing. $17,000 I didn't spend. And I confronted Dad. Do you know what he said?" She laughed bitterly. "That it was my contribution to the family business, that successful families share resources, that I should be grateful he managed it so well. You helped him access my work files." "I know, God, I know. He said you were too naive to protect your intellectual property, that if we didn't monetize it, someone else would. I thought I was helping the family. By stealing from me. By stealing from you." She agreed, tears starting. "Just like he stole from me. Just like he stole from Tyler. I was so stupid, Megan. So fucking stupid to think I was special." I studied her, looking for the manipulation, the angle, but all I saw was a woman realizing she'd collaborated in her own destruction. "Why didn't you say something 3 months ago?" "Because I'm a coward," Amy said simply. "Because admitting Dad was using me meant admitting my whole life was a lie. The favorite daughter, the golden child, the one who did everything right. It was all just positioning to be his accomplice. You tormented me for 27 years. I know. You called my workplace, tried to destroy my career. I know. You posted on social media that I wasn't real family." "I know," Amy shouted, then caught herself. "I know, and I can't take any of it back. I can't undo the scratched photos or the cruel words or the years of making you feel worthless. All I can do is tell you the truth now, which is..." Amy met my eyes for the first time. "Dad's dangerous, more dangerous than you realize. Last night, after we got back, he had a meeting with some men I've never seen before. They gave him cash, a lot of cash. He's planning something." "Planning what?" "I don't know, but he kept saying your name, yours and Tyler's. Something about teaching ungrateful children permanent lessons." The park suddenly felt too exposed. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because Brad left me," Amy said quietly. "This morning. Said he couldn't be married to someone who'd lie about 17,000 in debt. Said the prenup was void due to fraud. My perfect husband gone the second things got hard." "So you're alone and scared and suddenly want to be sisters." "No," Amy pulled out her phone, showing me a recording app. "I want to be a witness. I've been recording Dad for the last 12 hours. His rants, his threats, his plans, all of it." I stared at the phone. "You're wearing a wire on our father." "He's not our father. He's a criminal who happened to donate genetic material. Last night, he looked at me, really looked at me, and said, if I ever crossed him like you and Tyler did, he'd destroy me so thoroughly, I'd wish I'd never been born. He threatened you. He promised me, said the credit cards were just the beginning, that he had enough manufactured evidence to put me in prison for embezzlement if I stepped out of line. His own daughter, and I'm just another asset to leverage." Amy held out the phone. "Take it. The recordings, the emails, everything I've gathered. It's enough to bury him. I already sent copies to your lawyer." "Jennifer Martinez, how did you—" "Tyler gave me her name. We've been texting." "Tyler's been texting with you." Betrayal flared hot in my chest. "For about 2 hours, since I realized you both were right. We're not a family. We're victims and perpetrators tangled so tight we can't tell the difference anymore." I took the phone, scrolling through hours of recordings. Dad's voice raging about ungrateful children, planning to access more credit in our names, discussing the cash payment and something about permanent solutions. The evidence was damning. "Amy," I said slowly, "you need to leave town today." "I know, I'm going to stay with our cousin in Oregon, the one Dad always said was a failure for marrying a teacher. He'll come after you when he finds out. Let him try. I've got recordings of him threatening me too. Mutually assured destruction." She stood, brushing grass off her jeans. For what it's worth, you were right to cancel the trip, right to expose him, right to fight back. I wish I'd had your courage years ago. It wasn't courage, it was desperation. Sometimes they're the same thing. Amy turned to leave, then stopped. That patient tracking system, it really was brilliant. You're going to do amazing things, Megan, without us holding you back. She walked away before I could respond. I sat on the bench holding her phone full of evidence, trying to process what had just happened. Amy, the golden child, had flipped. The favorite daughter had become the star witness. My burner rang. Tyler, frantic. Are you okay? I saw Amy leaving. What happened? She gave us everything, I said numbly. Recordings, evidence, all of it. She's on our side now. Holy shit. I mean, I was texting with her, but I didn't think she'd actually follow through. You could have warned me. Would you have met with her if you'd known she needed to tell you herself, needed you to see she meant it? He was right. Amy's genuine breakdown was more convincing than any rehearsed apology could have been. Tyler, she said Dad got a cash payment from unknown men, that he's planning something permanent for us. Then we definitely need to get you somewhere safer than that motel. I've got the cabin lined up. We can leave this afternoon after you meet with the lawyer. What about my job? I can't just disappear. You can and you will. Take medical leave, stress-related, which isn't even a lie. Your life matters more than any job. I thought about my patients, the kids who counted on me, but Tyler was right. I couldn't help them if Dad's permanent solution found me first. Okay, the lawyer at 2, then we leave. Good. And Megan, I'm proud of you. You broke the cycle. Amy defecting proves that. The whole house of cards is falling. After we hung up, I walked back to my car, Amy's phone burning in my pocket like evidence of a murder, which in a way it was. Evidence of the death of the Morrison family myth, the perfect businessman father, the devoted mother, the successful daughter. All of it lies finally exposed to daylight. My burner buzzed, a text from an unknown number. I opened it and my blood ran cold. A photo of my apartment building, taken this morning based on the shadows. No message, just the image. Dad knew where I lived. Of course he did. He'd probably known all along. I forwarded it to Jennifer Martinez with shaking fingers. Her response was immediate. Come to my office now. Bring the recordings. We're filing for an emergency protective order. As I drove toward downtown, I kept checking my mirrors for familiar cars. Every sedan could be Dad. Every SUV could hide hired help. Paranoia, maybe. But Amy's warning echoed permanent lessons. The golden child had jumped ship, taking state's evidence with her. Mom was lawyering up in Phoenix. Brad had fled. Tyler and I were building our case. Dad's empire wasn't just crumbling, it was being actively demolished by the very people he'd used to build it. Somewhere in town, he was raging, planning, scheming, the narcissist's worst nightmare coming true, his victims working together, comparing notes, refusing to play their assigned roles anymore. I'd canceled more than a vacation. I'd canceled an entire family system built on abuse and lies. And like any cancellation, there would be fees to pay. The question was whether Dad would try to collect in money, reputation, or blood. The lawyer's office building loomed ahead. Sanctuary of sorts. Time to transform Amy's recordings and my evidence into legal protection. Time to make it official. The Morrison family was done. What emerged from its ashes remained to be seen. But for the first time in my life, I was writing my own story. And this time, the villain wouldn't win. Jennifer Martinez's office occupied the top floor of a gleaming downtown high-rise, all glass and steel and professional competence. The contrast to my shabby motel couldn't have been starker. Her assistant, a young man with kind eyes, immediately offered water and tissues, apparently used to clients arriving in distress. Jennifer herself was everything I'd hoped for, mid-40s, sharp suit eyes that missed nothing. She listened to my story without interruption, occasionally making notes on a legal pad. When I produced Amy's phone with the recordings, her professional composure cracked slightly. May I? She asked, gesturing to the phone. We spent the next hour playing selections. Dad's voice filled the office, ranting about ungrateful children discussing plans to handle Tyler and me, threatening Amy with imprisonment if she betrayed him. The cash payment discussion was particularly chilling. These men who gave him money, Jennifer said carefully. Did Amy recognize them? No, she said she'd never seen them before. Jennifer's expression darkened. We need to involve law enforcement. This goes beyond financial fraud into potential conspiracy. Conspiracy to what? That's what we need to find out. But men who give large cash payments for permanent solutions aren't typically selling insurance. A knock interrupted us. Jennifer's assistant entered, face pale. Miss Martinez, there's a David Morrison in the lobby. He's demanding to see Miss Morrison. Security has him contained, but he's making quite a scene. My blood turned to ice. He'd found me. Of course he had. Jennifer was already reaching for her phone. Call the police. Tell them we have a subject violating an anticipated protective order. Yes, I know we haven't filed it yet. Just make the call. She turned to me. You're safe here. He can't access this floor without clearance. But this escalation tells me everything I need to know about the threat level. Through the office's glass walls, I could see security guards by the elevators. My father had walked into a law firm in broad daylight to intimidate me. The desperation was staggering. Jennifer's phone rang. She listened briefly, then put it on speaker. Mr. Morrison, this is Jennifer Martinez. I represent your daughter, Megan. I don't give a damn who you are. Dad's voice was raw with rage. I want to see my daughter now. That's not going to happen. I suggest you leave the premises before law enforcement arrives. Law enforcement. He laughed, the sound unhinged. For visiting my own child? You have no idea who you're dealing with. I have resources you can't imagine. I'll bury you and your whole firm. Are you threatening me, Mr. Morrison, because I'm recording this call? A pause. Then quieter, but more menacing. I'm promising you. Anyone who comes between me and my family will regret it. Megan knows where she belongs. Tell her she has 24 hours to fix what she's broken. After that, I implement permanent solutions. Is that a threat of physical violence? It's a guarantee of consequences, 24 hours. He hung up. Jennifer immediately saved the recording, her fingers flying over her phone. That was actually helpful. Threatening an attorney is a felony. He just gave us everything we need for a protective order and criminal charges. He sounded... I trailed off, not sure how to describe the naked hatred in his voice. Desperate. Cornered. Which makes him dangerous. We're filing everything today. Criminal complaints for the identity theft fraud charges for the credit cards and now witness intimidation. He just turned a financial crime into a potential violent crime. Another knock. The assistant again looking even more shaken. The police are here, and there's been an incident in the lobby. We rushed to the security monitors. The screens showed chaos, Dad being restrained by officers screaming incoherently. He'd apparently attacked a security guard when told he couldn't access our floor. Blood ran from his nose where he'd been subdued. That's assault, Jennifer said with satisfaction. He just bought himself an arrest. We watched as they led him away in handcuffs, still ranting about ungrateful children and stolen futures. Other people in the lobby filmed with their phones. By evening, David Morrison's very public breakdown would be viral. This changes our timeline, Jennifer said, all business again. With him in custody, even temporarily, we have a window. We need to file everything immediately. The identity theft, the fraud, the corporate espionage Richardson uncovered, and now assault and witness intimidation. Will he get bail? Probably, but with conditions. No contact with victims, which includes you, Tyler, Amy, even your mother. He violates that, he goes back in. My phone rang, Tyler breathless. I just saw the news. Dad's arrest is already online. Local businessman arrested in law firm disturbance. Megan, he attacked a security guard. He came looking for me, lost it when they wouldn't let him up. This is what I was afraid of. He's spiraling. We need to get you somewhere safe now. Jennifer overheard. He's right. Do you have somewhere to go out of state would be ideal. Tyler has a cabin lined up, upstate off the grid. Good. Go there tonight. I'll handle the legal filings. We'll coordinate everything remotely. She handed me a business card. "This is my personal cell. Any contact from your father, any threats, anything suspicious, you call immediately." The next few hours blurred together. Police statements about Dad's threats, emergency protective order filings, Jennifer's team working with frightening efficiency to build a wall of legal protection around Tyler and me. By 4 p.m., I was back at the motel throwing my few belongings into a bag. Tyler waited in the parking lot, engine running, scanning for threats like we were in a spy movie. Except this was real. Our father was in jail. Our mother was filing for divorce in another state. Our sister was fleeing to Oregon, and we were running for safety from a man who'd raised us. "Ready?" Tyler asked as I climbed into his car. "No, but let's go anyway." As we pulled onto the highway, my burner rang. "Amy." "I'm at the airport," she said without preamble. "Did you hear about Dad?" I was there. He came to my lawyer's office, lost it completely. "I'm not surprised." Brad called, said Dad showed up at his hotel this morning before coming to find you. Offered him $50,000 to reconcile with me and control your wife. Brad recorded it too. He's scared, Megan. We're all scared. Where's Brad now? Driving to his parents in Colorado. He gave me the recording before he left. Said he was sorry for everything, that he didn't sign up for crime families and violence. Can't blame him. "Are you okay?" Amy laughed hollow and broken. "I'm 32 years old, getting on a plane with one suitcase, running from my father who just got arrested for assault. My husband left me. I'm 17,000 in debt I didn't create. My whole life was built on lies. No, I'm not okay. But maybe okay was never the point. Maybe survival is enough for now." "It gets better," I said, not sure if I believed it. "Does it? Or do we just get better at carrying the damage?" I didn't have an answer. We said goodbye, and I watched the familiar landscape blur past Tyler's windows. Somewhere behind us, Dad was probably making bail. Mom was meeting with divorce attorneys. Amy was boarding a plane to exile. Brad was driving toward whatever normal life he could salvage. And Tyler and I were heading to a cabin in the woods, like refugees from our own family. All because I dared to cancel a vacation I was never invited on. The dominoes had fallen so fast, so completely, that the girl who'd saved for Hawaii felt like a stranger. "You're quiet," Tyler observed. "Processing. A week ago, I was a nurse with a difficult family. Now I'm, what? A victim, a witness, a survivor. All of the above, but also free. Don't forget that part, you're free." Doesn't feel like freedom, feels like running. Sometimes they're the same thing. Sometimes running towards something better means running away from something worse. The direction matters less than the movement. By evening, we reached the cabin. It sat nestled in pine trees, basic but secure, with no neighbors for miles. Tyler's friend had stocked it with supplies, understanding the need for discretion. As safe houses went, it would do. We settled in silently, two siblings united by trauma and necessity. Tyler cooked a simple dinner while I watched the news on my phone. Dad had made bail as expected. The footage of his arrest was brutal. A successful businessman reduced to a screaming, bloody mess in a marble lobby. The comments were merciless. "You know what the weird part is?" I said over pasta. "I keep waiting to feel guilty, to want to fix it, to apologize for causing all this. But I don't. I just feel relieved. Like I've been holding my breath my whole life and finally exhaled. Is that wrong?" Tyler reached across the table and squeezed my hand. "No, it's healing. It's what happens when you stop accepting abuse as love. When you realize you deserved better all along." We spent the evening planning next steps. Legal strategies, financial recovery, career protection, practical things to avoid thinking about the emotional devastation of losing our entire family structure in a week. But as night fell and the cabin settled into wilderness quiet, the reality crashed over me. I'd lost my family. Not to death or distance, but to the truth. The price of freedom had been everything I'd known, even if what I'd known was toxic. Tomorrow would bring lawyers and testimony and the slow work of rebuilding. But tonight, in a cabin hidden in trees, I mourned the family I'd never really had and the hope I'd carried for too long. Tyler found me crying on the porch, wrapped in a blanket against the mountain cold. It's okay to grieve, he said softly, even when what you're grieving never really existed. The hope was real, the pain was real, the loss is real. I just wanted them to love me, I whispered. Why wasn't I enough? You were always enough. They were never capable. That's the difference. You can't receive what someone can't give, no matter how perfectly you perform. We sat in silence, two survivors learning what family meant by discovering what it didn't. In the distance, an owl called hunting in darkness. Tomorrow would bring new battles, but tonight we had each other, and that was more family than we'd ever really had before. The Morrison Empire was falling. Long live whatever we built from its ruins. Thursday morning arrived with two pieces of shocking news. The first came from Jennifer Martinez at 7 a.m., her voice grimly satisfied through the phone speaker. Your father violated his bail conditions within 12 hours. He was arrested outside Amy's apartment complex at 3 a.m. attempting to break in. She'd already left for Oregon, but he didn't know that. He's being held without bail now. I sat at the cabin's small kitchen table, coffee growing cold in my hands. He went after Amy. Security footage shows him trying to jimmy the lock, then attempting to break a window. When police arrived, he claimed he was checking on his daughter's welfare. They didn't buy it. The second piece of news came from Tyler's contact in Phoenix. Mom had done more than file for divorce. She'd frozen all joint assets and presented forensic accounting that showed 20 years of financial manipulation. The community property state worked in her favor. Half of everything, including Dad's business assets, was now under legal lock. She played the long game, Tyler said, reading the details. While we were fighting for survival, she was building a case for profit. By noon, the full scope of the implosion became clear. Jennifer called with updates that felt surreal in their completeness. Richardson's company filed formal charges for corporate espionage. The FBI's white-collar crime division is taking lead. Your father's investors are pulling out en masse. 3 of his biggest clients terminated contracts this morning. That fast. Financial crimes are one thing, but the arrest footage went viral. No company wants to be associated with a man who attacks security guards and stalks his own children. He's become professionally radioactive. Tyler pulled up Dad's company website. Already, his bio had been removed. His email bounced back. His LinkedIn showed no current position. In 48 hours, he'd gone from successful businessman to unemployable pariah. There's more, Jennifer continued. Amy's recordings include discussions of previous frauds. The investigators are finding victims going back 15 years. Former employees whose ideas he stole, partners he cheated. Your father built an empire on other people's innovations and identities. How many victims? At least 12 identified so far. You and Tyler were just the most recent. Well, you and Amy. The investigators want to interview you both next week. Are you somewhere secure? Very secure, I assured her, looking out at the endless trees surrounding the cabin. After we hung up, Tyler showed me something that made my stomach turn. Screenshots from a parents' forum where Dad had been active. Posts dating back years complaining about ungrateful children seeking advice on managing difficult offspring, even discussing strategies for maintaining financial control over adult children. He documented his own abuse, Tyler said in wonder, posted asking for advice on keeping us dependent. Look at this one from 3 years ago. I read the post, bile rising. My son discovered some financial discrepancies and overreacted. Now he's threatening to go no contact. How do I remind him that family loyalty matters more than money, that everything I did was for his own good? The responses were chilling. Other parents sharing tactics for financial manipulation, emotional blackmail, maintaining control, an entire community of abusers reinforcing each other's delusions. This is evidence, I realized. He admitted to the financial discrepancies in writing. Jennifer needs to see this immediately. By afternoon, Brad had resurfaced with his own bombshell. He'd driven straight to a lawyer after leaving Colorado, not for divorce proceedings, but to turn state's evidence. The recording of Dad offering him $50,000 to control Amy was just the beginning. Brad had been documenting things for months, suspicious but afraid to act. I found spreadsheets, Brad explained over a choppy video call, hidden in Amy's laptop. Your dad was tracking every dollar he stole, every credit card opened, every fraud committed. He kept records like he was proud of it. Why didn't you say something sooner? Tyler demanded. Brad's face crumpled. Because I loved Amy. Because I thought if I ignored it, it would go away. Because I was a coward who wanted the nice house and successful father-in-law more than I wanted the truth. I'm sorry. I'm so fucking sorry. His lawyer took over the call. Mr. Sullivan has agreed to full cooperation with authorities. In exchange for immunity, he's providing complete access to financial records he preserved. Your father was meticulous. Every crime documented, dated, and detailed. Immunity for what? I asked. Mr. Sullivan was technically an accessory after the fact to some frauds. Minor involvement mostly through willful ignorance, but he's making it right now. Even Brad, the clueless son-in-law, was turning evidence rather than facing charges. Dad's carefully constructed network of complicity was becoming a chorus of witnesses against him. Friday brought the most unexpected revelation. Mom called from Phoenix, her voice different. Older, 10, real in a way I'd never heard. I owe you an explanation, she began. Not an excuse, but an explanation. Mom, please, let me say this. I've been in therapy since arriving here. Real therapy, not the performance I did for your father's image. And I need you to know that I failed you. Catastrophically, unforgivably. I put her on speaker so Tyler could hear. He tensed but nodded for her to continue. When your father started the financial abuse, I thought I was protecting you by staying, by managing him. I told myself that leaving would make it worse, that at least I could moderate his cruelty. But that was a lie I told to avoid hard choices. You knew everything. I knew enough, and instead of protecting my children, I protected myself. I documented his crimes not to save you, but to save me when the time came. That's why I'm calling, to tell you that every penny I get from the divorce will be yours and Tyler's, every cent. It's not enough. It will never be enough, but it's what I can do now. Tyler spoke for the first time. Why should we believe you? You shouldn't. Trust is earned, and I spent 27 years destroying mine. All I can do is act differently now, starting with testimony against your father that ensures he never hurts anyone again. After she hung up, we sat in stunned silence. Mom taking accountability felt like a hallucination, but Jennifer confirmed it within hours. Patricia Morrison had signed documents allocating any divorce settlement to her children, had provided investigators with decades of hidden financial records, and had agreed to testify against Dad in every pending case. It's unprecedented, Jennifer marveled. Usually spouses claim ignorance or invoke marital privilege. Your mother is burning it all down. Saturday's news cycle brought public vindication in the most unexpected way. The journalist Dad had scheduled to interview for his family innovation piece had pivoted to a different story, the dark side of family business, a Morrison empire built on theft. She'd interviewed Richardson former employees, even tracked down some of the 12 victims Jennifer mentioned. The article painted a devastating picture of a serial fraudster who viewed his own children as resources to exploit. My patient tracking system was correctly attributed to me with quotes from hospital colleagues praising my innovation. You're trending on medical Twitter, Tyler announced, showing me his phone. Nurses and doctors sharing the article, expressing support. Look at this thread. I read through hundreds of comments from healthcare professionals, outraged that a parent would steal their child's work. Offers of collaboration, job opportunities, words of encouragement. The medical community was rallying around one of their own. But the sweetest vindication came from an unexpected source. Richardson's company announced they were offering me a consulting position to properly develop the patient tracking system. Full credit, significant compensation, and the backing of a major medical technology firm. They want to make it right, Richardson explained in a personal call. What your father tried to steal, we want to help you legitimately develop. No strings, no obligations, just an opportunity to see your innovation reach its full potential. By Saturday evening, as Tyler and I shared a quiet dinner in our hidden cabin, the complete reversal was staggering. Dad in jail facing decades of charges, Mom redistributing wealth to her victims. Amy safe in Oregon cooperating with authorities. Brad turning state's evidence. My career not just salvaged but elevated. How do you feel? Tyler asked. I considered the question. A week ago, I'd been a rejected daughter saving pennies for a family vacation. Now I was a recognized innovator with job offers, a survivor helping prosecute my abuser, a sister finally understanding what family meant. Free, I said finally. Validated. Sad for what we never had, but hopeful for what we might build. You. Proud, he said simply, of you, of us, of Amy for finding courage. We broke the cycle, Megan. 3 kids raised to be victims or perpetrators, and we all chose a third option. We chose truth. What happens now? Legal proceedings will take months, maybe years. Dad will probably plea bargain to avoid trial. Mom will get her divorce and her conscience. Amy will rebuild without the golden child pressure. Brad will probably disappear into blessed normalcy. And us, we figure out who we are without them. That sounds terrifying and exciting. For the first time in our lives, we get to be ourselves without performing for their approval or protecting ourselves from their cruelty. Do you know how rare that is, how many people never escape? I thought about the parent forum Dad had posted and all those other manipulators reinforcing each other. How many children were trapped in those dynamics, believing abuse was love, accepting theft as family loyalty? We got lucky, I said. If Dad hadn't pushed too far, if I hadn't snapped over Hawaii, if you hadn't been willing to help. Not luck, Tyler corrected. Courage. Yours to cancel those flights, mine to come back and help. Amy's to flip sides, even Brad's to preserve evidence. Every abusive system continues until someone says, no, you said no. We cleared dinner in comfortable silence, 2 siblings learning to just be without the constant performance our family had required. Outside, night fell over the mountains, peaceful and vast. Somewhere our father raged in a cell. Our mother contemplated decades of complicity. Our sister started fresh 3 states away. But here in a cabin that wasn't home but felt safer than home ever had, Tyler and I began the work of healing, of building lives not defined by our damage but informed by our survival, of creating the family we'd never had from the ashes of the one we'd lost. The empire had fallen. The tables had turned. The victims had become victors, not through revenge, but through truth. And that truth, painful as it was to reach, had finally set us free. The call came at 6 a.m. on Monday morning, jarring me from the first peaceful sleep I'd had in days. Jennifer Martinez's name on the screen made my stomach drop. Early morning lawyer calls never brought good news. Megan, I need you to sit down, she said without preamble. I was already sitting on the cabin's worn couch, but I gripped the arm tighter. What happened? Your father had a psychotic break in custody last night. He's been moved to the psychiatric ward at County General. He's not coherent. What does that mean? He's claiming you and Tyler aren't his real children, that you're imposters who stole his family's identity. He's demanding DNA tests, insisting the real Megan and Tyler were replaced years ago. The psychiatrists are evaluating, but it appears to be a complete break from reality. I put her on speaker so Tyler could hear. His face went pale. Is he faking? Tyler asked. The psychiatrists don't think so. His lawyer is already filing for competency evaluations. If he's deemed unfit to stand trial, he escapes justice by going crazy, I finished. Typical dad, even his mental breakdown is strategic. But Jennifer's next words chilled me. There's more. During his episode, he revealed information about other accounts, other identities he created, not just you and Amy. He's been running frauds under fake children's names, children who don't exist. What? He created synthetic identities, full social security numbers, credit histories, even school records for fictional Morrison children. The investigators found 7 so far. He's been building and burning these fake identities for 20 years. Tyler sank onto the couch beside me. Our family wasn't just dysfunctional, it was a criminal enterprise. The scope is staggering, Jennifer continued. Federal investigators are calling it one of the most elaborate family-based fraud schemes they've seen. Your father created an entire ecosystem of financial crime with his real children as unwitting shields for his fictional ones. The revelation recontextualized everything. We weren't just abused children, we were camouflage for a massive fraud operation. Our pain had hidden his crimes. By noon, more pieces fell into place. Mom called from Phoenix, her voice shaking. The investigators found something in the house. A room in the basement I didn't know existed. David had files on everyone, not just family, but neighbors, co-workers, casual acquaintances. Credit reports, personal information, detailed notes on their financial vulnerabilities. He was hunting, Tyler said grimly, looking for new victims. There's a file on you from when you were 12, Mom continued, her voice breaking. Plans for how to use your identity, which accounts to open when. He planned your financial destruction before you hit puberty. Why are you telling us this? I asked, anger flaring. Because the investigators need you to know what they're finding. And because I need you to understand that this went beyond even what I knew. I'm not asking for forgiveness, I know that's impossible, but you need to know the full scope of what you survived. After she hung up, Tyler and I sat in stunned silence. The cabin felt smaller, as if the weight of Dad's crimes was pressing in from all sides. We need to see those files, Tyler said finally. Why? Why torture ourselves? Because we need to know how deep this goes. How many people he hurt, whether there are victims who don't even know they're victims yet. Jennifer arranged for us to review the evidence remotely. By Tuesday afternoon, we were staring at hundreds of digital files on Tyler's laptop. The organization was meticulous, obsessive. Folders for family members, subfolders for different fraud schemes, detailed documentation of every crime. My folder made me physically ill. It started when I was born, hospital records noting my social security number, plans for its future use. Year by year, notes on my development, my trusting nature, my desire to please. He'd identified me as the perfect victim before I could walk. Look at this, Tyler said, voice hollow. He'd found his own folder. Age 15, shows signs of independence. Monitor closely, may need aggressive intervention if pattern continues. He was tracking our psychological development like a scientist. Amy's folder was equally disturbing but different. Notes on her narcissistic tendencies, her need for approval, her willingness to hurt others for gain. Perfect lieutenant material, one note read, can be shaped into enforcer role. He didn't just abuse us, I said, understanding dawning horribly. He designed us, shaped us into what he needed, you as the rebel, to eventually discard me as the perpetual victim, Amy as his accomplice, and Mom as the silent partner who'd take the fall if needed. Tyler added, reading her file. Jesus, he had divorce scenarios planned out for 20 years, different versions depending on when she might break. But the fictional children's files were the most disturbing. 7 complete identities built from birth certificates of children who'd died young, each with elaborate backstories, school records, medical histories. He'd created imaginary offspring and then systematically destroyed their credit, funneling the money back to himself. Michael Morrison, Tyler read, born 1995, died 2023, except he actually died in 1996 as an infant. Dad kept him alive on paper for 27 years. Sarah Morrison, Jennifer Morrison, David Jr., I continued reading. A whole shadow family he could exploit without the messiness of actual children to raise. Wednesday brought another shock. Amy called from Oregon, her voice eerily calm. Did Jennifer tell you what they found in my apartment? No what? Recordings. Hundreds of hours. Dad had my whole place bugged. Every conversation with Brad, every phone call, every private moment for the past 2 years. He was surveilling his own daughter. Amy, He has video too, hidden cameras. The FBI tech team is going through it all, but they warned me there's intimate footage of me and Brad. My own father was. She couldn't finish. That's beyond fraud, Tyler said. That's sexual exploitation, violation of privacy added to his charges. Though what's the point? He's drooling in a psych ward, claiming we're all imposters. Is he really crazy, or is this another manipulation? I asked. Amy's laugh was bitter. Does it matter? Either he's a criminal mastermind who's been psychologically torturing us for decades, or he's a delusional psychopath who believes his own lies. Neither option changes what he did. She was right. Dad's current mental state didn't erase the decades of calculated abuse, but it might let him escape the consequences hidden in a psychiatric facility instead of prison. By Thursday, the media had caught wind of the story's scope. The Morrison family fraud, a dynasty of deception, ran in the Washington Post. Idaho man created fake children for financial crimes led the evening news. Our family's destruction had become public entertainment, but with publicity came unexpected support. Victims of family financial abuse reached out through Jennifer. Support groups formed online. Other adult children shared stories of their parents' exploitation. We weren't alone, we were part of a hidden epidemic. There's a Senate subcommittee interested in your case, Jennifer informed us. They're working on legislation about family financial fraud. They want you to testify. Testify before Congress, I asked, incredulous. Your case perfectly illustrates the gaps in current law. Parents exploiting children's identities, the difficulty prosecuting family members, the long-term damage. Your testimony could help protect future victims. Tyler and I exchanged glances. From family scapegoats to congressional witnesses, the transformation was dizzying. Friday's revelation was the final piece of the puzzle. The FBI's Financial Crimes Unit had traced Dad's offshore accounts. $20 million accumulated over 25 years of fraud. Not just from his children, from employees, partners, investors, anyone who crossed his path. He could have just been rich legally, Tyler said, staring at the numbers. He had the intelligence, the connections, but he chose crime. Because crime gave him control. I realized, legal money is just money. Stolen money comes with power over the victims. He didn't just want wealth, he wanted dominion. As the week ended, the full picture emerged. David Morrison wasn't just an abusive father or a white-collar criminal. He was a psychological terrorist who'd built an empire on his family's pain. Every birthday card had been reconnaissance. Every family dinner had been an intelligence-gathering operation. Every moment of affection had been calculated manipulation. And now he sat in a psychiatric ward, insisting his victims were imposters. The ultimate gaslighting. Even in his breakdown, he denied our reality. What do we do with this? I asked Tyler as we closed the laptop on the evidence files. How do we process that our entire lives were someone else's crime scene? We heal, he said simply. We testify. We help other victims. We build lives so authentic that his lies can't touch them. We become everything he tried to prevent: successful, independent, free. That's simple. That complicated. But what's the alternative? Let his crime define us forever. He stole enough. He doesn't get our futures too. As night fell over the cabin, I thought about the congressional testimony Jennifer wanted us to give. The chance to turn our pain into protection for others. Dad had created us to be victims. Instead, we'd become voices. His empire hadn't just fallen, it was being dissected, studied, used to build defenses against future predators. His legacy wouldn't be the wealth he'd stolen, but the laws that would prevent others from following his path. In his psychiatric ward, he could claim we were imposters, all he wanted. We knew the truth. We were Megan and Tyler Morrison, survivors of one of the most elaborate family frauds in history. And we were done being silent. 2 weeks later, I stood in the bathroom of a Senate office building staring at my reflection. Professional blazer, minimal makeup, hands that wouldn't stop shaking. In 30 minutes, Tyler and I would testify before the subcommittee on financial services about family financial fraud. "You ready?" Tyler asked from the doorway, looking equally uncomfortable in his suit. "No, you?" terrified. But Jennifer says we just need to tell our story, let the truth speak. Jennifer Martinez had coached us extensively. Answer directly, don't speculate, speak from personal experience. The committee wanted to understand how parents could systematically destroy their children's financial lives while appearing to be normal families. The hearing room was smaller than I'd expected, but the cameras made it feel vast. C-SPAN was broadcasting live. Somewhere our story would become part of the congressional record. Permanent, undeniable. Senator Patricia Williams, the committee chair, had kind eyes that reminded me of the good nurses at the hospital. Ms. Morrison, Mr. Morrison, thank you for your courage in coming forward. Please understand you're not on trial here. We simply want to learn from your experience. I began with my prepared statement voice, steadier than I'd expected. My name is Megan Morrison. I'm a pediatric intensive care nurse. Until 6 weeks ago, I believed I was part of a difficult but normal family. I discovered instead that I was a financial resource cultivated from birth for exploitation. The room was silent as I detailed the stolen savings, the $43,000 in fraudulent debt, the systematic psychological abuse designed to keep me compliant. Tyler followed with his story, the stolen business ideas, the physical intimidation when he tried to leave the 3 years of hiding. But it was the questions that revealed the true scope. Senator Williams. Ms. Morrison, when did your father open the first fraudulent account in your name? According to the FBI's investigation, when I was 3 months old, a savings account that he drained and closed before I turned 1. Senator Chen Meritor Morrison, you mentioned shadow children. Can you elaborate? Tyler pulled up the evidence on the screen. 7 fictional identities created using deceased infants' social security numbers, complete financial profiles lasting decades. My father created more fake children than real ones. The committee members' faces showed genuine shock. This went beyond their prepared questions about regulatory gaps. We were describing a criminal enterprise masquerading as a family. How do we prevent this? Senator Roberts asked. What would have helped you? Mandatory notification for any account opened in a minor's name, I said immediately. Credit freezes by default until age 18. Real penalties for family financial abuse, not just civil remedies. And education teaching children that financial abuse is abuse, even when it comes from parents. The biggest issue, Tyler added, is that society doesn't want to believe parents can be predators. There's this assumption that family means safety. My father exploited that assumption for 40 years. After 2 hours of testimony, we were exhausted but oddly lighter. We'd spoken truth to power, literally. Our story was now part of the legislative process. Outside, Jennifer waited with unexpected news. Richardson's company wants to move forward with your patient tracking system immediately. They're offering a significant signing bonus and ongoing royalties. Your innovation is going to help thousands of hospitals. The irony wasn't lost on me. Dad had tried to steal my work. Instead, his crime had brought it to the attention of people who wanted to develop it legitimately. His theft had become my opportunity. Over the following days, the response was overwhelming. Other victims reached out with their stories. Advocacy groups requested partnerships. Media outlets wanted interviews. We'd accidentally become the faces of a hidden epidemic. But the most meaningful contact came from unexpected sources. Brad reached out from Colorado, where he'd started therapy and was rebuilding his life. I wanted you to know, he said over a crackling video call. I'm starting a nonprofit, legal aid for family financial fraud victims. I can't undo my complicity, but maybe I can help others escape. Even Amy from her exile in Oregon was finding purpose in the ruins. She'd started a blog about being the golden child in an abusive family system. Her raw honesty about her role as both victim and perpetrator was resonating with thousands. I spent 32 years being who Dad shaped me to be, she wrote. Cruel, entitled, complicit. The hardest part isn't losing the lifestyle, it's discovering who I am without his programming. 3 months after the Hawaii cancellation, I sat in my new apartment security building, credit, slowly rebuilding Richardson's signing bonus, providing stability. Tyler lived nearby his tech business, thriving now that he wasn't hiding from Dad's shadow. Mom had finalized her divorce, true to her word about the settlement. Every penny went to Tyler and me, managed by a trust Jennifer established. It didn't erase the past, but it funded our futures. Mom herself had moved to a small apartment, started intensive therapy, and begun volunteering with domestic violence survivors. "I can't undo 27 years of enabling," she'd said in one of our cautious phone calls. "But I can spend whatever years I have left trying to balance the scales." Dad remained in psychiatric hold, cycling between catatonia and elaborate delusions about identity theft by imposters. His competency evaluation was ongoing, but even his lawyers admitted he'd likely never stand trial. His empire had crumbled so completely that his mind followed suit. "It's not the justice we wanted," Jennifer admitted, "but sometimes the universe delivers its own verdicts. He's imprisoned in his own fractured reality. He'll never hurt anyone again." The congressional hearing had impact. 3 months later, the Family Financial Protection Act passed committee heading for a full vote. It included mandatory notifications for minors' accounts, increased penalties for family financial fraud, and funding for victim services. Tyler and I were invited to the signing if it passed. "We're changing laws," Tyler marveled one evening over dinner. "Our pain is literally rewriting how America protects children from financial predators." Think Dad ever imagined his legacy would be protecting kids from people like him? The ultimate irony. He wanted to build an empire on our backs. Instead, he created advocates who will prevent future empires like his. As fall arrived, I returned to work at the hospital. My colleagues had been nothing but supportive, understanding when I needed time for legal proceedings or therapy. The kids welcomed me back with artwork and hugs, innocent of the adult darkness I'd navigated. Miss Megan. Sarah, my heart surgery survivor, bounced in her bed. "You look happy. Did your mean family go away?" "Something like that," I said, smoothing her hair. "Sometimes people who hurt us have to go away so we can heal." "Good," she declared with 7-year-old certainty. "You deserve nice things." From the mouths of babes again. One evening, Tyler and I sat on my balcony watching the city lights twinkle. We'd made it through depositions, trials, media attention, and family implosion. We'd testified before Congress and helped draft protective legislation. We'd rebuilt our credit, our careers, our sense of self. "Remember when you just wanted to go to Hawaii with the family?" Tyler asked. "Feels like a lifetime ago. That girl who saved all those months hoping to finally belong. She did belong, just not to them. She belonged to herself, to her patients, to the life she was building despite them. It just took a canceled vacation to see it." "Think we'll ever go to Hawaii?" Tyler grinned. "Richardson's company has a conference there in January. They want you to present the patient tracking system to their Asian Pacific partners. All expenses paid. Real invitation, not stolen. You in Hawaii. 6 months after the cancellation that started everything. Not with the family who'd excluded me, but with colleagues who valued my work. Not funded by fraud, but by my own innovation." "I'm in," I said. "But I'm bringing my own sunscreen, no more depending on family for anything." We laughed, the sound free and unforced. Two siblings who'd survived the unsurvivable rebuilt the unrepairable and found family in the truth rather than the lie. Somewhere Dad rambled in his delusions. Mom worked toward redemption she'd never fully achieve. Amy blogged her journey from golden child to authentic human. Brad built his nonprofit from guilt and determination. But here on a balcony overlooking a city full of strangers who'd never hurt us, Tyler and I claimed our victory. Not revenge recovery, not hatred healing, not the family we'd been given, the family we'd chosen. The flight to Hawaii was booked. This time nobody could cancel it but me. 6 months. That's all it had taken to dismantle 40 years of lies and rebuild something true. As my plane descended toward Honolulu International Airport, I pressed my face to the window, watching the islands emerge from endless Pacific blue. January in Hawaii, exactly when the original trip should have happened. But everything about this journey was different. I traveled alone, my ticket purchased with money I had earned, my hotel booked by people who valued my work. In my bag was a presentation that would introduce my patient tracking system to hospitals across Asia. Dr. Megan Morrison, Consulting Director of Pediatric Care Innovation. The title still felt surreal. First time in Hawaii, the woman beside me asked. First time, I confirmed, not bothering to explain the loaded history behind those simple words. The conference was everything Dad's vacation could never have been: productive, meaningful, connected to purpose beyond leisure. I presented to rooms full of healthcare innovators who asked brilliant questions and offered invaluable feedback. My system, the one Dad tried to steal, would soon help sick children across a dozen countries. But it was the evening of the second day that brought the real closure. I sat on Waikiki Beach watching sunset paint the sky in shades of healing. My phone buzzed with a text from Tyler. Check your email, you're going to want to see this. I opened the attachment to find a news article. Morrison family fraud inspires nationwide reform. The Family Financial Protection Act had passed. The president would sign it next week. Our testimony had become law. A second text, this time from Amy, a photo of her in scrubs, smiling tentatively. Started nursing school. Turns out I want to help people for real this time. Thank you for showing me it was possible. Even Mom had sent a message, careful and respectful of boundaries. Saw the news about the bill passing. Your father is being transferred to a long-term facility. His condition hasn't improved. I'm proud of what you've built from the ashes. Love, Mom. I didn't respond to that one. Some bridges were too burned to rebuild, but I didn't delete it either. Progress came in small steps. As darkness settled over the Pacific, I walked along the beach, letting warm sand shift between my toes. A family passed by, parents and two young children building sandcastles in the dying light. The kids shrieked with joy as waves threatened their creation, the parents laughing as they helped rebuild. Normal family happiness, the kind I'd never known but no longer needed to mourn. My phone rang, Tyler checking in as he did every evening now. How's paradise? He asked. Peaceful, productive, mine. Good. Hey, I have news. Remember that cabin we hid in? How could I forget? I bought it. Figured we needed a place that was just ours, somewhere safe that no one can take away. You'll always have a key. A home that couldn't be violated, stolen, or used against us. The safety we'd never had as children, created by our own hands. Also, Tyler continued, I'm seeing someone. Her name's Elena. She understands about family trauma, about rebuilding. I'd like you to meet her when you get back. Tyler trusting someone new. Another small miracle in our year of transformations. I'd love to meet her. Good, because I'm thinking of proposing eventually, and I want you as my best woman, if you're willing. Tyler, of course, I stopped, overwhelmed. A wedding where I'd actually be wanted. A family celebration that included me by choice, not obligation. Take your time, no rush. We're building this new family slowly, carefully, making sure everyone actually wants to be there. After we hung up, I stood at the ocean's edge, waves lapping at my feet. 6 months ago, these same waters had been the destination of a vacation that was never meant to include me. Now they were a backdrop to a life I'd built myself. I thought about that morning in my parents' kitchen, passport in Dad's hand, family. Arrayed against me, like a hostile jury. The humiliation had felt bottomless then. The exclusion final. I'd saved for months to join a family that had already erased me. But their rejection had been a gift wrapped in cruelty. Without it, I'd still be orbiting their dysfunction, bleeding myself dry for scraps of approval. Their betrayal had forced me to discover my own worth, independent of their validation. A notification pops up on my phone. Richardson's company confirming my consulting contract renewal at double the rate. My innovation was exceeding all projections. Hospitals were reporting 30% improvements in patient care efficiency. Sick children were getting help faster because of something I'd created. Dad had tried to steal that accomplishment. Instead, his theft had brought it to people who could amplify its impact. His crime had become countless children's blessing. I waded deeper into the warm water, professional clothes be damned. The ocean didn't care about presentations or contracts. It just welcomed vast and indifferent and honest. No hidden agendas, no emotional manipulation, just salt and depth and endless possibility. I made it, I whispered to the waves. I actually made it. Tomorrow, I'd fly home to the life I'd built, to therapy appointments that helped untangle decades of programming, to work that mattered, to relationships based on truth rather than transaction, to Tyler, the only family from my past worth keeping, who'd become the brother I'd always needed. But tonight, I had this: warm water and sunset sky and the knowledge that I'd survive the unsurvivable, that the little girl with the scratched-out face had grown into a woman who'd changed laws and saved lives and finally learned her own worth. A text from Jennifer Martinez interrupted my reverie. Senate wants to honor you and Tyler next month. Special recognition for your role in the Family Financial Protection Act. You'll need a nice dress. This is going to be big. From discarded daughter to Senate honoree. The journey felt impossible, except I'd lived every step. I thought about everyone who'd played a part in this transformation. Jennifer, who'd turned our pain into legal protection for millions. Richardson, who'd seen value where Dad saw only theft. Dr. Chen, who'd believe me over family lies. Even Brad and Amy, finding their own redemption paths. And Tyler, always Tyler, who'd come back when I needed him most. But mostly, I thought about the woman who'd canceled those flights 6 months ago. Terrified, heartbroken, but finally angry enough to act. She'd pushed a button that destroyed a vacation and uncovered an empire of lies. She'd chosen truth over family justice, over silence, self-respect over servitude. She'd chosen herself. The water was perfect, warm enough to comfort, vast enough to humble. I floated on my back, staring at the first stars emerging in the darkening sky. Somewhere beneath these same stars, a psychiatric facility held the shell of a man who tried to build a kingdom on his children's backs. His kingdom had fallen. His children had risen. Thank you, I said, to the sky, to the water, to the scared woman who'd found courage in a dingy motel room. Thank you for canceling that trip. Because that cancellation hadn't been about revenge or petty satisfaction. It had been about finally saying no. No to abuse disguised as love. No to theft disguised as family. No to a lifetime of accepting crumbs and calling it a feast. That no had become a yes to everything that followed. Yes to justice. Yes to healing. Yes to authentic relationships. Yes to professional success. Yes to this moment floating in Hawaiian waters that no one could take away. My phone buzzed once more. A calendar reminder I'd set 6 months ago, back when the pain was fresh and the future uncertain. Remember, you are not what they said you were. You are not what they did to you. You are what you choose to become. I smiled, dismissing the reminder. I didn't need it anymore. The truth had moved from my phone screen to my bones. I was Megan Morrison, survivor, innovator, advocate, sister, friend, my own person at last. The waves carried me gently back to shore as full darkness claimed the sky. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new opportunities, new growth. But tonight was for gratitude. For the journey that began with exclusion and led to inclusion. For the family I'd lost and the family I'd found. For the woman I'd become by refusing to remain who they'd tried to make me. I walked back to my hotel, sand between my toes and peace in my heart. In my room, I found a package from Tyler. Inside was a simple silver bracelet with an engraving, "Not all who are related are family. Not all who are family are related. Your brother always." I put it on, feeling its weight like armor and blessing combined. Then I stepped onto my balcony to watch the Hawaiian moon rise over waters I'd finally reached. Not with them, not for them, but for myself. The vacation they'd stolen had become the life they couldn't touch. And that life built on truth and courage and the ashes of pretty lies was more beautiful than any family trip could ever have been. In the distance, waves crashed against ancient shores indifferent to human dramas. But I heard music in their rhythm, the sound of cycles breaking of patterns, ending of new stories beginning. My story. Finally, fully, freely mine. If this story resonated with you, if you've ever felt excluded from your own family or discovered that love came with a price tag you couldn't afford, I want to hear from you. What was your moment of choosing yourself over toxic family dynamics? When did you realize that DNA doesn't equal loyalty, and that sometimes the healthiest thing is to walk away? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Have you experienced family financial abuse? Did someone you trust betray that trust for money? Or maybe you're the Tyler in someone's story, the family member who came back to help when it mattered most. If this story moved you, please hit that like button. It helps other survivors find these stories and know they're not alone. Subscribe to hear more stories about resilience, redemption, and the courage to break toxic cycles. And please share this with someone who needs to hear that it's okay to cancel more than just vacations. Sometimes you need to cancel entire relationships to save yourself. Thank you for listening to my journey from rejection to redemption. Remember, you deserve to be more than someone's financial resource or emotional punching bag. You deserve a family that chooses you as much as you choose them. Sometimes that family is the one you're born into. Sometimes it's the one you build from the ashes of what should have been. Either way, you deserve Hawaii. You deserve peace. You deserve the life that's waiting on the other side of that cancellation button. Until next time, keep choosing yourself. Your future self will thank you for it.